because it says go. So it's another week, another opportunity to have some soup and meatballs for breakfast. That guy over there is Tim. I'm Max. Tim, how you doing, man?
I'm feeling great. It's a lovely weekend here in Bloomsburg. They had the Renaissance on Main Street yesterday, along with the college students' block party, but there was no conflict between the two.
Ooh.
So,
Well,
not a nice spring weekend.
What's the Renaissance? What is this that you speak of?
It's kind of like the old Hazleton Fun Fest on a smaller scale. Like they shut down Main Street from like Iron to the Fountain. And then it's just like vendors, selling you pulled pork sandwiches.
Dignitaries walk past.
Well, I was there. I didn't have any regalia with me.
Then what good is it then?
I know I have my honor cords from college. I should have draped those around my neck or something.
You know, it's funny. So we're getting upon that time now, high school graduation. And the thing I do for my video game club kids, I have an old NES controller that I let the president wear as a thing. I think it's the most ridiculous thing. The kids love it though. Yesterday, so it's Sunday, April 27th, if you're watching during the week. And yesterday, we usually go on Saturdays, but Derek was at a jazz festival. And this is really cool. I'm like super pumped about this.
You should.
Derek's jazz band, like for his school, they played a song that he wrote. Derek, he didn't tell us this was happening. So like I'm sitting in the audience and I felt like the dad from Varsity Blues. That's my boy with the broken nose. So that's the coolest thing that's happened to me this week. And
he's really talented too. I mean, is he 16?
16, yeah. What were we doing at 16? Not writing our own music.
No, we were. I don't know, playing video games.
Backyard wrestling.
Riding around with a video camera, harassing fast food workers.
That was 16. So I mentioned backyard wrestling because last week, along with being Easter, was also WrestleMania. Remember, like that was a massive thing, and it's still a massive thing now. And since we didn't have our show last week, we really couldn't talk a lot about WrestleMania. And I thought it would be kind of neat if we got some insider perspective. Have you ever done actual physical professional wrestling in a ring?
Me?
Yeah.
Professional, no.
No, and neither have I. I have, though. I've worked with a character who has. Back in the day, you can see here on the screen, from 99 to 2007, one of the independent circuit's top professional wrestlers, supremely great. And another cool thing about this guy, he was actually a trainer. That's where I met him initially when I did a story for the news down at Off of the Wild Samoans Training Center. He was one of the trainers that talked to us, and he is good enough to come on with us now. There he is, Mr. John Trotsky, live from the Sanctuary in Hazelton. John, how you doing, man?
How we doing, guys? Welcome to the Sanctuary, where ladies drink free, but there's no ladies. So, how we doing?
It's 10 o'clock in the morning where we are, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
There's always time for wine, kids.
There you go. I love it.
We love putting a message out for the kids. You know.
Well, yeah, for the kids, this is a good message, as well as win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. And if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So
I know where that came from originally. Tim, do you know where that came from?
If you're not cheating, is that Ric Flair?
No, I don't think. Well, he might have stolen it from Flair. I remember Jesse Ventura saying that.
Jesse,
okay.
Yeah.
Is that Jesse?
Jesse, Bobby the Brain Heenan are two of the characters that I would say I've heard that the most from. I think Eddie Guerrero grabbed a hold of a lot of those lines later on, but yeah, they are that's some old school, just good tongue-in-cheek sort of lines that I actually still say to my high school students and be like,
there you go.
Listen, you're talking to somebody that knows how to cheat in every single way, and I know if you're not cheating, you're not trying. Don't try that hard on this test, you know.
There you go. I love it. So, John, as a former pro wrestler, before we get into WrestleMania and stuff, a little bit about you. What drew you into becoming a wrestler way back when? Because right now, I think you're about our age, which puts you at old.
Yeah, officially old. Very, very white hair now. Um, you know, I have a student now that has an IEP, and I was a kid in high school with an IEP. And I'll tell you what, I see this little monster, and this kid is just this wild freaking animal. He has no clue what he wants to do as an adult. I have to bring in Transformers to tame him just to get him kosher. That little child was exactly who I was when I fell in love with wrestling. And the one thing that just, I guess, consistently in my life that I've never let go of was that childhood spirit, that wild little animal inside of me that said, this is what I want to do when I grow up, and by hell and high water. I think I gave it about as best of a chance as I could. I would say there was a couple little notes I would have gave myself along the way, but for a guy that was 5'6" and at that time 200 pounds, and again, you remember at the Wild Samoan Training Center back then, there weren't exactly little guys like me. There was Tommy Swade, another cruiserweight, and another cruiserweight named Shane Black. But honestly, everybody there was 300 pounds and 6 foot something, and that didn't include the Samoans. So it was. I fell in love with it as a kid. I mean, from the Hulk Hogan era, from the Hogan slamming Andre, and I was 6 years old, 5 years old at WrestleMania 1. I don't know it. I always tell the story that I said I remember seeing WrestleMania 1, but I don't know if it was WrestleMania 1, 2, or 3. And I feel like I was either at the Catholic Youth Center or the Mart Center when they used to do the telecasting, where basically they would fill an arena and put up on a projector screen freaking WrestleMania. It was, I mean, that's how old I am. Because you couldn't get it on pay-per-view at that time. Like, you had to get live from like you had to go to special venues. At least in Mountaintop, Pennsylvania, where I was. Maybe those. Maybe there were some people in New York and Philadelphia that were able to get it live on pay-per-view.
The metropolis that was Hazleton. The first pay-per-view I remember ordering was SummerSlam '88.
So there you go. So you're talking 3 years though after that was like the WrestleMania launches, and I know that they started something with like the wrestling challenge or something. Like, it was the pre-WrestleMania event. It was like the thing that happened, but it wasn't an official WrestleMania event. And I think that was their first attempt at trying to do a nationwide broadcast. And I mean, not to get into the history of wrestling here, but I mean, that was really what made professional wrestling what it is today, as opposed to a carny sideshow. And I grew up as a little boy in that moment. And as cool as it is growing up in this generation, as cool as wrestling is today for these kids, they will never understand it the way that I did from what I grew up with and knowing what it came from truly. Like, they don't have that life experience, for a lack of a better term. But yeah, how did I get into it? Long story short, there was I fell in love with it when I was a kid, and God bless my mother as I pursued it. She's there, just, you can keep doing it, but you're getting to college. Like, it was an associate's first, then a bachelor's, and then a master's. Like, she made sure that I was going through school through the entire process. So that, which again ties us back to where we know each other as well, from college as well. So
I met you at grad school, and the thing I remember the most is you would always show up in the computer lab with a different Samoan, creating either promo videos or promo packs, and one of them put me in a chokehold.
Was that one of the big Samoans? Was that like Samu probably back then?
It was a bit. I don't know his name. He was a big dude, though. I mean, he was bigger than us.
Samoans, I know. I would imagine I was either making a video for Samu or an Alpha Junior back then, or one of them. But
and what was cool for me is I had known Alpha. Alpha actually wrote me an email when I sent him an email thanking him for letting me come in, and he said, "Thanks, son." And that's what he used to call his students. Like, I wasn't anything close to a student, so it was just kind of cool to be able to communicate with a legend like that, I think.
Pops,
and you got trained by him.
Pops was the best. And just on that note, too, before we get into the WrestleMania talk, Pops passed away this summer. And, on his gravesite, it just simply says someone who cared. And I think that's a perfect summation of who the man was. Without him caring about so many of us as his kids, And I mean, he had his own children, but he adopted a lot of kids too. And then beyond adopting kids, there's kids like me who were like his adult adoptions, for a lack of a better term. Um, Pops was a incredibly special soul. I am beyond blessed to have had such a close run with him back in the WXW days, and then even with the movie The Wrestler and stuff like that. My life could not have been my life if not for Off of the Wild Samoan. So there's somebody that I always want to make sure when we talk about him calling kids son, I truly do look at him as a father, and I truly do look at all of my journey as an impossible journey if not for him. So yeah, Pops is awesome. So it's Mania season, and
Yeah.
I think that you guys had a bit of a Mania review here, right?
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to be completely honest. Since WWF/E moved on to Netflix, I get my fill of wrestling on TikTok. I don't think I've watched a live show, and it's the first time in a while, because I used to watch the Road to WrestleMania, and then I would watch WrestleMania, and then I would fall off for a little while. It's like the soap opera. My wife watches Days of Our Lives. She skips 6 months, and then she gets right back into it. So this Mania, I didn't know anything about going in, and I think being that it was on Easter weekend and we're out doing family stuff, I really only saw anything, even the matches, just in short clips. So, first of all, it's a 2-night thing now. That's been going on for, I want to say, like 5 or so years.
They're doing the first SummerSlam that way too, from my understanding.
Are they doing a 2-night SummerSlam now?
Now this year.
Wow. Me trying to book my own WrestleMania, I can understand why. I think my WrestleMania is about 9 hours. And that's a long show. But you know what? There was a WrestleMania that actually felt like it was 7 or 8, because I was sitting here watching on my computer, and I was like, dude, the next thing I know, it's 11:30. We started at noon. So, John, you guys had a watch party at the Sanctuary. From either night, what seemed to be the biggest match that the people seem to like the most?
I think excuse me, the most fulfilling match was probably the first night's main event, the Punk Roman and Seth Rollins match, and I think that was specifically because of the Paul Heyman bit.
Where they used Heyman.
I would say the match quality of that too was on par with what you want from WrestleMania. There was a lot of letdown, I'll be honest, in here for Mania this year. There was way too much of the event was, I hate using these phrases. I don't want to use the word B-list talent, but I want to use the word Monday Night Raw and SmackDown level matches, as opposed to WrestleMania or even a pay-per-view match. I think that if you were to chop up the WrestleMania event and say, let's make it into one night, you could have had one outstanding night between, the shame of that is I still probably would have ended it with the Paul Heyman bit, even though it's Cena's last Mania. The Cena match did exactly what it needed to do, which was look, at the end of the day, what's the business of the match? And that's always what we say to each other in the back of the ears. What's the business of the match? And then we'll figure out what to go from there. And the business of the match was John Cena becomes 17-time world champion. And you could say what anybody wants to say about the match, but John Cena doesn't owe it to anybody to get hurt trying to live up to the professional wrestling standards that I think somebody would say, oh, he can't wrestle. Well, tonight's his chance with Cody to really prove that he can wrestle. He's had that chance 100 times at different Manias against like Punk and a bunch of other guys that can really go. It's not his, I hate to be this way about pro wrestling, but it's not his job to wrestle. It's his job to entertain. It's his job to be a performer, a character, and to sell tickets and have people chant and get people energized. I know so many amazing and outstanding professional wrestlers at the art of professional wrestling, both the old school art that we fell in love with and the lucha libre super indie art that is modern pro wrestling, that can't get a chirp out of a crowd. But John Cena can simply talk and the crowd is chanting one way or the other. They either love him or hate him. He's a perfect yin-yang wrestler. And as a babyface, the people that love him are that section of the fans. The people that hate him are the smart marks. And now that he's healed, the smart marks love him, and the other section of fans don't like him. He's a perfect yin yang wrestler that no matter what he does, he's going to get an emotional reaction out of the crowd, and people are constantly going to be saying, "Okay, awesome, what's next?" And those are the kind of guys you build a company around, not a lot of the other card on WrestleMania. Going from night one, I think the opening match of what was it? It was your world title match, Jey Uso versus Gunther.
Yeah.
Good match. I'm glad for Jey Uso. Gunther has an incredible amount of hype around him as a professional wrestler. I think he's fantastic as a worker and performer, but I think he completely lacks that John Cena factor of enormous character and energy that, yes, independent smart marks want to go and pay and see to see him. I think there is a vast majority of the dumb mark crowd that just still doesn't get it, and I think he's great, as opposed to Jey Uso, who once again, just like John Cena, doesn't have to wrestle. Doesn't need to. You could say Jey Uso isn't the best performer. You could say he's just a bunch of gear, a Samoan gimmick, and a fucking yeet. But guess what, kids? That's all it takes. And it's going to break all the smart marks' heart at home, and all those really, really good, talented indie wrestlers who take sick bumps, the ones that go out there and do their ultra hardcore style and die for this business. Meanwhile, one motherfucker goes like this, and an entire audience does it with them. Tough shit. That's the business. And it's pro wrestling isn't about pro wrestling. And that's probably the hardest soup to take when you're a student of this business.
Soup, he just said, Tim.
I know. I zoned out there for a second. I was like, soup.
He knows where he is.
Soup.
No, so the one thing that you brought up about, I think they used to call Cena the 6 moves of doom. Back in the day, back in the 80s, before people knew what they know, I think Hulk Hogan had about 2 moves, but he didn't have, when he was in Japan, he could throw down, but here in America, like you said, you do a little bit of this, you get the crowd up, and you go back and you have a beer in the back. That's easy business, I think.
Down even in Japan, and if we're really analyzing him as a worker, I'm going to give him like a 2 or a 3 on you show me his best professional wrestling matches of all time. He's not going to get a high worker scale. But I'll go to somebody who everybody does love and fucking thinks that he is the greatest fucking wrestler of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart. Go back and you watch the end of any one of his fucking matches. They're the exact same match. They are his 5 moves of doom there. Is Bret Hart, does he have a better vocabulary of pro wrestling? Sure does. Is he the excellence of execution? Yes, he is. That's what makes Bret Hart actually a very good wrestler. The moves he hits are crisp. Are they flashy? Are they that impressive? No, they're not. He's just good at what he does. But once again, Bret Hart's one of those guys. Out of all the superstars that became that massive superstar, Bret's the enigma to me. Because like when I study him, yes, he's so goddamn good at the art of wrestling. But there weren't smart marks back then to say he's good at the art of wrestling. Back then, you told somebody that's good wrestling, and they're like, "Yeah, that's good wrestling." Like there wasn't connoisseurs of wrestling. But Bret on the mic, the wolf. He might have been the worst world champion mic promo guy ever. Like I never bought. Taker's another one that like really and truly, as much as I love the Undertaker the character, if you go and he had a couple iconic promos on Mick Foley. There's a couple I can go back to. One of the worst things I ever did in my life is when the WWE Network came out. Is I went back and started watching all old wrestling, and it broke my heart. Now that I know what wrestling is, going back and watching it, I sit there and go, "How the fuck did they have these ratings?" Like I sit there and just like, the only answer is because the audience was that fucking stupid. And sorry to sound so much like John Cena here, just tragic wrestling fans, but they're just, it wasn't complicated math in the 90s to get the reaction. And then pro wrestling became this super indie thing that it did become a complicated way to get a reaction. And I just still to this day, I love that there's people like Paul Heyman and John Cena who don't have to take a bump and you get the exact same reaction just by being a snarky prick. So I think that pro wrestling isn't what people think is my thesis statement here.
Well, I'll tell you what, like, what to you is like one of your, like, the biggest misconception about wrestling now in 2025? Because back in the 80s, there were reporters who would throw out the F word and then get their head slapped in. Like, we all know it's not that, but what's the biggest misconception do you think about wrestling today?
See, I'll be the person that will call wrestling fake because I went into a court of law and called it fake when I had to defend what I'm doing here at the sanctuary about. I'm also the only place in the state that can do quote unquote a wrestling show without the state athletic commission ever butting their nose in, because I went all the way up to the Supreme Court of the state of Pennsylvania and argued my case of saying wrestling's fake, and it is. And when I say it's fake, it's as fake as stunt work is. Stunt work is real. Can I get hurt? You're goddamn right I can. But I never had an intent to hurt somebody ever in pro wrestling or stunt work. And if I did, I'm doing it fucking wrong. There's a real danger, but I'm also, look, and I'm winning no fans over when I say things like this. I'm the person that in high school would have been like, well, cheerleading isn't a sport. Yes, it's a sport, but I know that makes people angry when you say it's not a sport, but it's gymnastics.
I'm with you there. It's judged. It's athletic, but not a sport.
At the end of the day, unless there's some form of actual competition that is actually real and legitimate, and I know people can sit there and make an argument of like, well, the competition is who's the better performer of it. Well, that's not the competition. Then somebody else will say, well, the competition is who can put more asses in seats and all that. Well, if that's the competition, then it sure has nothing to do with the performance in the ring. It has to do with a mic and a promo. So I don't think that there's an actual way to angle pro wrestling as an actual sport. So I don't think that that's a misconception, though. I think that the misconception in pro wrestling is that people can do it. And I don't want to sound like a dick about this. Just now, there's your exact statement. People have realized that it's fake, and because it's fake, they think they can do it too. And cosplayers who fucking play dress up think that they can be a professional wrestler too. And you can't be. And this is where it comes down to, yes, it's not a sport, but you need to be a good athlete. You have to be somebody that has very, very good skill sets. You have to be somebody that would be able to jump into any sport and still be athletic. And it's not just making an entrance and putting on a costume. As much as I argue for the John Cena case, it's not, because when you actually have to get in there and do it, you have to know how to do it right.
So how about a guy like Logan Paul or Bad Bunny? Because to me, they're the kind of people that they're not really into it, but they get big matches at WrestleManias.
But you look at Logan Paul, and if you look at both of them, you'll say the exact same statement. They both look like athletic people. Neither one of them, like, you look at them and go, look, this guy can't do shit. Like, he can't do a forward roll correctly. And I think that's the problem. My frustration I have with pro wrestling is people who couldn't do a successful forward roll if you asked them to do just like a nice little correct forward roll without going like to the lopsided to the left or right, or do a backwards roll without looking like a fucking meatball rolling backwards. And look,
I'm a meatball.
That's why I don't do it anymore. But I can still go in this ring and do a moonsault. So like at the end of the day, if you don't have that ability to get to some kind of level of performance, you're not just gonna be able to just do this. And it breaks my heart to tell people that this isn't meant for you, but it's the truth. A lot of people, I think they think that it is so fake that it's a way that they can become a star still. And it's not a shortcut to stardom. And I think some people think that it can be. The same way some people think TikTok could be a shortcut to stardom, or the movie bit. Every one of those things that eventually people become successful at have a lot of underrooted talent. And whether it's you here producing this show by yourself from a computer, being able to run a live stream while maintaining all the hosting responsibilities all by yourself without having a backup crew, without having a backup anything, you're just there.
I have a producer here.
Oh, dude. Exactly. My point is there's skill sets. The same way somebody thinks they can just pick up and do this immediately. I would say the biggest misunderstanding is it's easy to get good at, and you can just do it.
Well, I'll tell you. But one of my biggest misconceptions is it was easy to book. So what Tim and I did was we thought, hey, let's put together our dream WrestleMania. And I mean, like, every wrestler who's ever lived in any federation ever across the world, whatever. And I think I told Tim, I said, we get 15 matches because I think 15 is a good card. And we put our thing together, and it'd be cool if you kind of critiqued our work almost. I'm going to tell you right away, I cheated because, why not?
Well,
so
we know you're trying.
I have 16 matches on my card, but you'll understand why when I go through. Tim, you want to go through your card for us? And
I like your 16.
I'll tell you what he thinks.
Tournament.
Just start off 1 through 15. Just go.
Well, let's give you. Yeah, why don't you do your first 3? We'll go like that. 3, 3,
Okay.
3, 3.
So I'm opening with Rey Mysterio and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Sorry, say it again. Opening match.
I'm opening with Rey Mysterio and Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Sure.
I want to follow that up with a tag team match of the British Bulldogs and the Old Twin Towers. And then a couple big guys. I want Earthquake and Yokozuna in match 3. And I know Earthquake and Yokozuna are both heels, but
I got it. So I think
I just want to see them start a grease fire with their bellies.
Your opening match of Mysterio and I think Dragon is a lot of people's dream match, and I think that is exactly the kind of match that you start off a WrestleMania with, a nice hot piss and vinegar match that's really going to light the crowd on fire. This is recorded, so I got to be careful on the way that I say this, but I'm just going to say it because I'm going to explain to you the way pro wrestling matches work, the way pro wrestling booking works, and the way all forms of entertainment work. And it's based off of a very simple thing to understand as a man, sex. It is, everything starts off hot. And if you stay hot for too long, you get a squash match and it doesn't matter. So it gets hot, but then you got to cool it off, and then you go to your peaks and valleys. This is called the shine of a match. It is the good guys winning. The cutoff happens, aka if you don't cut this off, we're gonna finish. We're gonna go home too soon. So you got to bring it down, and then there's hope spots of, hey, you guess what we're gonna get to again? We're gonna get there. Oh, you got cut off and you don't make it to it. And you go through this series of peaks and valleys until you eventually get to what's it called in the hero's journey in cinematography and film. It's called this. We get to our climax, which is ultimately the babyface goes over at the end of this. But before you get to that climax, there needs to be a point of ultimate darkness of, oh shit, mom's knocking on the door and you don't get to get your nut. But turns out it's not mom and it's a stripper. And now you finally get to your ultimate happy ending of your entire pay-per-view, your match, or whatever the hell it is. That is, every song does it too. And I know you think that I may sound like, what the fuck is this freak telling me in a church, this weirdo pro wrestler? Go listen to music. Every song has the chorus, the part of the song that you know, your hook, the part that you love to sing along with. You start yourself off, you build it, you get that beat in, and then you bring yourself down to the refrain. Go up to your chorus and the refrain. And you go to the chorus, and then you do a thing called a bridge, which is your womp. And then you go chorus for your finish. That is the gist of most music if you're trying to produce it. This is every Simpsons episode. This is every Family Guy episode. This is everything. And the most important thing we get back to at the end of it is everybody lives happily ever after and nobody's damaged by this, that we can just start another season the next time over, another match, another whatever. So there's my hint cheat code on booking. But like everything in life, everything comes down to man want that. And it's what we all pursue. So whether it's in the actual world like that, or whether we want to feel a similar sensation when we're going to watch Marvel's Endgame, or actually Infinity War was the best, because Infinity War had you like this, and then went, see you next time, kids, a year later. It's perfect storytelling and booking. And the reason why WrestleMania had to end this way this year is because last year's WrestleMania nutted you too hard. So you needed a down year. Last year they had Cena, The Undertaker, everybody. Like they threw in Infinity War
in the kitchen sink.
So this year we needed just fucking the cheesiest Super Cena, fucking 5 moves of doom, not the worst professional wrestling match in wrestling history. And all of that fits the brand of what John Cena's doing. It's all just great psychology. Sorry to bring it back to the psychology and the art of this, but yeah,
it is,
your second match. I like it. You had it was the British Bulldogs versus
Bulldogs and Twin Towers.
You had two jacked up motherfuckers against the old Boss Man and Akeem, right? The Extreme African Dream. I bet that existed somewhere on tape.
Oh, I'm sure.
I think that I would enjoy that as a fan. I don't know if modern wrestling fans. I personally would enjoy that.
Oh yeah, and my list leans hard on 80s and 90s guys.
Yeah,
we're both old. You're going to see a lot of old on these
would have
cards,
given
man.
a breath, or I would have given another cruiserweight or something else there that would have been an upbeat between that, because Akeem and Boss Man are going to slow that match down, and then your two fat fucks aren't doing anything. So let me hear your three.
Earth, you know what though? I Earthquake and Yokozuna as a sumo match. So I have some gimmicks in mind.
Well, they did
a
that,
sumo match. Did they actually do a sumo Earthquake and Yoko?
Yeah, did they do that outside of one of the pay-per-views?
It wasn't.
I
want to say it was a Raw. They did it. I want to say it was an early Monday Night Raw.
Gotcha. Well, so mine. I had a story going in that so the Rock is my world champion right now, and he was doing movies, and WWF president Jack Tunney gets on and says, you haven't defended your title in 30 days. We're going to strip it, and we're going to have a tournament at WrestleMania of sorts, because WrestleMania 4 was still my favorite because of that. So my opening match is actually like setting up the main event. We don't know who's in the main event of my WrestleMania. We have a War Games style ring setup where there's two rings, and it's a double ladder match because there's two contracts up for the main event. And in the first match, the first four guys that are going to wrestle are Sting, Shawn Michaels, Macho Man Randy Savage, and then the former champion, The Rock. In which case we have, opportunities for two guys in two rings, one guy gets bumped, and we have three guys in one ring. And at the end of that, Randy Savage is going to take one of the contracts. And then immediately after that, we go into the very next match with those same three guys. Sting, Shawn Michaels, and The Rock have a regular old triple threat match for the other contract. And I have Shawn Michaels winning this one. The Rock is just pounding up on Sting, and as he goes for the people's elbow, Michaels catches him with sweet chin music, pins Sting, so The Rock stays strong. He can go off and do his movies, and we have a main event now set up between Randy Savage and Shawn Michaels later in the evening. So that's like the two matches in one as the opener. I go to a singles match after that where I tried to figure, I want Rick Rude on my card. Who does he work well with? I'm going to put him up against Seth Rollins because they seem to have the same personality with me. And I'm going to have Roman Reigns do a run-in from the crowd in his Shield gear to help Seth Rollins because Bobby Heenan was trying something. And, Seth Rollins comes in and knocks Heenan out.
I was going to say, we had Paul Heyman with Seth Rollins against
there you go.
Rude with a Bobby Heenan. That makes that match super fucking interesting. Not because of the two guys in the ring, who I do respect in the ring, but once you would drop a Paul Heyman and a Bobby Heenan on opposite sides of the ring, boy, do I, as a fan, I'm like, oh, what?
I don't need to watch. I can just listen. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be my only modification there. Your opening match is, I like it. For personal reasons, I like it. I will tell you what I told my trainer, my very first trainer before Off of the Wild Samoan. He came up with this angle in Tennessee and Kentucky. And it was with however many players there are on a chessboard. And he assigned somebody a king roll, a queen roll, a rook roll, and like all the big, and then there was pawns among them. And I said, as he played out this 6-month story to me, I said, I love your pitch. Not a single one of your fucking fans is going to get that shit. I worry that the match that's that opener might be so convoluted that in pro wrestling, we call it it's a carrot top move. It's one of those, here comes Carrot Top with his box of tricks, and out of it are just tricks. And it's great. We love Carrot Top, and there's a place on a show for the Carrot Top spot. And putting it in as your opener is an interesting thing because it's going to wake you up. You picked 4 of the greatest stars of all time. You can't go wrong with that. And you picked the 2 best workers out of the 4 to go head to head in the main event in a match that anybody would want to see. A Macho Man versus Shawn, both in their primes. So you build to a very good main event. You created a good hook for the finish. My only comment is you scared me with the 2 ring thing. And does one of the rings come down in the second match, or does that ring stay there for the rest of the night?
No, we're going to keep it there.
Okay.
Because it actually comes into play later in the card.
That's good to know. That's what I'm asking. Okay, so now volley back. Man, I feel like I'm just doing a grading paper here on both. But you guys are
I
doing
like
fun.
that.
Am I being too much of a dick?
No. I don't think so.
No, I actually find this very interesting.
Let's hear our next 3.
So,
Okay.
Tim, you're up. Match 4.
When I wrote this down, I liked it just imagining the lead up to the match, like the weeks leading up to my imaginary WrestleMania. It's Roddy Piper and Val Venus. Just the storyline makes me smile. So
I was just going to say the story there. Do I expect a good match? No. But that whatever story is going to come out of that, I get it. I get why.
That's great, Tim.
I think I'm losing you both.
Man.
Listen, I liked it. I think the storyline needs explained, but other than that, I don't think you need to explain the storyline. I think you just said the storyline. Roddy Piper and Val Venus. I think it writes itself.
He might have to pop in and out. Sometimes he loses. You there with us, Tim?
Yeah, you guys were. It got garbled there. I think it's my Wi-Fi.
So what do you
Match
got?
5.
So match 5. This is another one that's kind of conceptual, where I imagine like the weeks leading up to it, where it's going to be Mick Foley against Mankind. But Mick Foley's going to play both in like the interviews leading up to it, and then it's going to be someone else in the mask, where he's basically wrestling himself.
So who is he wrestling?
I have not figured that part out yet. I was watching basketball and doing this. It's in my hastily scrawled little notepad.
Let's throw Kevin Owens under that mask.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good size fit.
And he could fight, the way Mick Foley would want to fight.
Yeah, when I thought of the idea of him fighting himself, I was like,
I would like a Mankind versus Cactus Jack. I think that and inside of a cell, Hell in a Cell. Give me that. Let's add that spice. Me over here with Carrot Top, and I throw a Hell in a Cell on top of his.
Oh, no.
But you know why? You know why?
That's
When you have
dangerous.
Kevin Owens and Mick Foley in a Hell in a Cell, that's a scary fight. Somebody's going off the top, and it's probably Kevin Owens.
I wish I'd thought of this. I like the add-ons.
Well, good. Then I helped.
We're doing it.
And then we're gonna sort of cleanse the palate after that with Guerrero versus Dynamite Kid is match 6.
I love it. I would have done Benoit versus Dynamite Kid for obvious reasons, because that's like a fucking mirror match. But Dynamite Kid versus Guerrero gives you the Benoit versus Guerrero, but a different flavor. So I really do like that one as well.
Without the bad taste in your mouth, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am throwing way
taste-
more carrots. Carrot Top is coming here. So my 4th match
Didn't go over there.
I'm calling the 4-corner big man tag. So the way this works, there's 5 dudes in the match, and there's 2 guys in the match at any given time, and you can tag out to anybody you wanted. So, but it's like an elimination style thing where there's 1 guy left, and it's just an excuse to get 4 or 5 massive dudes in the ring and see if we can break the ring. So the first guy eliminated is going to be the 1-man gang. The second guy eliminated is going to be Bam Bam Bigelow. The third guy who gets eliminated is the Big Show. The 4th guy eliminated is King Kong Bundy, and the winner of the match is Big John Studd.
No Andre. I would have put Andre there. But okay.
Andre's later.
Okay.
I think if I was going to do an
love
Andre match like this, it would have been a 4-on-1, and he would have wiped the 4 of them out.
There you go. I like that. I actually like that booking as well. I like both those bookings. And I love Big John Studd. I think Big John Studd is WWE's #1 drop ball, because they just used him as a counterpart to Andre the Giant, as just for somebody for Andre to beat. And in an era where they repackaged and rebranded every motherfucker, they never gave Big John another shot at being something awesome in that company. And I think I don't know whether it was because of age or work. And again, maybe because my name is John, and maybe because I was a kid and I liked the idea of Big John Studd. But I just remember when I would go to events as a kid and see him, I just thought he was great. Like, I thought and again, even the stupid little Hogan thing of the ultra blonde hair with the kind of darker beard. He was a big motherfucker that you knew you didn't want to fight. And I felt that there was something to it. And I felt WWE just never utilized it properly. So thanks for putting him over.
There you go. So, my next match is a plain old Jane tag team match. My favorite tag team of all time is Demolition, and I can't put them against the Road Warriors because we've seen that already. So I'm going to play to my audience a little bit, and I'm going to put Demolition up against the Wild Samoans. And knowing my audience, this was going to be my only my gimmick finish where there's some kind of double disqualification, double count out. Neither team goes over. Maybe they just beat the hell out of each other because both teams were pretty violent. So we got a double DQ ending for Demolition and the Samoans.
Yeah, the Samoans and Demolition are going to just beat the shit out of each other.
But it'll be fun to watch for a couple minutes.
That's a rough match to follow up your Big John Studd match, though, because those are both. Neither one of those matches move fast, so we're slowing the pace down. What do we got next?
Yeah, and well, the sixth match, I guess, is also some kind of slowdown, because this was a gimmick again. Now we have a cage match, and it is a triple threat reverse cage match. You win by staying in the ring. How does that work? So we have Cactus Jack, we have Terry Funk, and we have Abdullah the Butcher. Okay. And the way I envisioned this going was Funk is up against the ropes, and Abdullah runs at him so hard that Funk gets out of the way, and Abdullah goes through the cage onto the floor. So half of the cage now is off, and this is where that other ring kind of comes into play, because I didn't want the cage to go landing on the fans and have a lawsuit and all that. So, but the Butcher's out. He eliminates himself, and then Cactus Jack throws Funk through the ropes or into the other ring, and he's the only one left in the cage. So he wins the reverse cage match.
Okay.
I don't know physically or like how that works, but in my mind, it worked.
It's a violent match, which is good, but it's a violent match after a violent match. Like you got two fights in a row. That tag match is going to be a fight, and this match is going to be a fight. I think it's good. I just probably would have put a pacer in between.
Gotcha. Tim, what's your number 7?
The match. What are we at? 7.
Tim's at 7 right now. Yeah,
I'm at 7. Yeah, and you talk about a slow match. I have Andre versus Big Show is match 7.
Sure.
Father and son.
I think. Yeah. I think that's a straightforward, obvious one. That's fine. Andre over.
And then match 8, I'm going Kurt Angle and Dave Bautista.
It's an interesting one. I'm sure those two had to have wrestled. Like I don't remember it, but I feel like they had to have crossed paths. Dave Bautista, I'm glad that he's on the card. I'm not that he doesn't deserve it, but if we're talking about the WrestleMania of WrestleManias, I'm just glad he made it. The very contrast in styles. I'm gonna actually probably after this eventually go look up a Dave Bautista versus a Kurt Angle match, because I actually would like to see that.
It exists. Yeah.
It's funny because like nothing jumped out to me as being like a major time like where they met each other.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, there's one that's, if I'm correct on this, and it's wild that this match never happened, and it's fucking wild that this match never happened. I gotta say it twice. Dave Bautista and Brock Lesnar.
Oh. They never fought each other.
Apparently not. When I looked it up, I couldn't find a match, and I'm like, how? How do you have the animal and the beast? Never. And I'm like, that is just insane. And they're the exact same era and the same character. How don't you put them against each other at some point? And I guess it was to not damage either one's brand, because I don't know who you put over. Because that's a tough one. It's like, who goes over? I guess Lesnar in modern times, but that's a rough match. Sorry, go on. What's your match 8 then?
So Angle Batista was 8. Match 9, this was like my dream tag team match when I was 12 years old. It's got to be Demolition and Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
But the actual Road Warriors, though, and the actual demo, not the 6-man Axe Mask Crush that you got later on.
I don't want Crush in there. I want the spiked shoulder pads.
If you had run-ins from Crush and like fucking draws or hiding right, just to fucking make it as part of his like a solid gimmick, you fucking made my Mark Day so happy.
There you go. Oh man, I have LOD later, but yeah, and it's only because I know we saw them, and as a Demolition fan, it bugs me hearing that they're called the Road Warrior ripoff.
It's why they're not in the fucking goddamn Hall of Fame. They're not in the Hall of Fame because WWE themselves, basically Vince McMahon admitted that, like, yeah, they were my answer to the Road Warriors because I didn't want to pay for it. And it was, okay, fine, I get it, Vince, but you're shitting on one of your greatest creations I've ever seen. I was a enormous Axe and Smash fan. I think that they were my favorite tag team from the 80s. Over the Hart.
I think they were, them and the Hart Foundation were the two dominant.
Hart Foundation's number 2, but I think Axe and Smash, Demolition, wearing the leather fucking outfits, the fucking face mask, that fucking music.
The Jason mask was.
Like, and look, I love the Hart Foundation, but fuck them. Demolition. Sorry.
No, dude.
Are you going to put over the Road Warriors? Everybody's going to put over the Road Warriors. I put over Demolition.
No. Hang on. See, my producer is in my ear, and he's just going slow. Come on, producer. Here we go. I met Axe and Smash at a Comic-Con. They're awesome dudes, and they're like 10 times my size. I'm a bigger guy now.
They're so big. Like, and it pisses me off is because they're like, oh, they're not the Legion of Doom. You know how big those guys are? I was like, you haven't fucking met Axe and Smash, you asshole. They're big fucking dudes that you don't want to fight.
No. And I told Smash that it was funny. It was when I was growing up, he had that mullet and I had a mullet. And now Barry is bald and so am I. I told him, it's like I'm following you, hairstyle for hairstyle,
Funny.
So I'm going to get it. My match 7. So we don't fanboy on Demolition enough because they deserve it. My number 7 is the Intercontinental title match. The champion coming in is Eddie Guerrero. And since the $1 Million Man couldn't buy the world title, he's going to buy the Intercontinental title. And Eddie Guerrero wasn't having it. So Ted DiBiase's insurance policy, he buys Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar, who was upset that Guerrero took his world title from before, comes in and just annihilates Guerrero. And Ted DiBiase wins the Intercontinental title. Number 8 for me is a lumberjack match. And it is Triple H against Dusty Rhodes. And Triple H brings his buddies Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, X-Pac, Scott Steiner, and Dennis Rodman. And Dusty Rhodes brings Lex Luger, Booker T, DDP, Rick Steiner, and Lawrence Taylor of old WrestleMania fame.
It's a great mid-match card. Like this is such a great one for the middle of the card.
Yeah, but no way is Triple H not. He's not accepting a loss to Dusty, so backstage politics gets him the win there. And honestly, I hadn't thought of Batista, so I feel bad. I almost want to put Lesnar versus Batista in my match 9, but the match 9 I had was a 6-man technical match where I had Arn Anderson, Kurt Hennig, and Randy Orton teaming up to defeat Roddy Piper, Ricky Steamboat, and Chris Jericho. I think it's funny that Roddy Piper and Ricky Steamboat were. Oh no, you had Roddy Piper versus Val Venus. That's
Steamboat opened mine with
there you go.
Steamboat and Ray is a hell of an opener. I do want to make a modification to one of your matches, and I'll give you the Batista and Brock to pull him out of that match. Let's do Eddie versus fucking Dominic Mysterio. That gives the kids a moment.
There you go.
This generation has had no representation. When we think about the modern wrestlers,
you get 2 Gen X's. You surprised?
No, I'm not at all. That's why
the top of my card is
a little bit of a nice little note to the anybody youthful that's watching this is a Dominic Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero for the Intercontinental title is a dream match for these kids because Dominic is Eddie Guerrero now. He's not Ray. He's basically micro Eddie. And even when he just won the Intercontinental title, a lot of his gear were tells that's like, hey, I'm following Eddie's path. Seeing the two of them together would be just a mesmerizing moment. So that's the only reason why I would say that note. And then your match 9 was I liked your match 9 that you pulled together. It was a little bit of a conglomeration.
I don't know how you put the story together with the 6 of them, but there were 6 guys on there. I put rosters together. I'm like, I want these guys, and they just kind of got stuck together.
All right, so let's go to match 10.
That's 10 on Tim's card.
So my match 10, we've got a 20-man battle royale.
I like,
and
that's a good spot. That's a good spot.
And then the idea is whoever wins the battle royale gets a title shot at SummerSlam.
Sure.
The 20 people in the battle royale, we've got Jake Roberts, Mr. Perfect, Big Boss Man. Oh, Big Boss Man was already in with the Twin Towers.
Okay, Dynamite Kid wrestled twice.
We'll make that Big John Stud.
There you go.
Ken Shamrock, Goldust, Booker T, King Kong Bundy, Hacksaw, Luke and Butch, Razor Ramon, Lex Luger, Sting, DiBiase, Honky Tonk Man, Doink the Clown, Texas Tornado, Sergeant Slaughter, The Sheik, and Dusty Rhodes.
The fact that fucking Luke and Butch made your fucking WrestleMania screams are just
yeah, and spoilers, neither Luke nor Butch are winning.
I know they're not, but it's really man. If fucking you had like, and for the fucking swerve, Butch is over. Just fucking bushwhacker Butch, fucking mowing around the ring. How that hasn't been ripped off yet by somebody in pro wrestling, I don't know. Because the entire audience did it when I was a kid.
Here's the real quick. I always wondered, like, how these guys decided what their hand. You need a hand thing, right? You need something, and you know, like you said, like nobody's hobby. That's anything the kids can do out in the stands. That's something else. Yeah.
Most popular thing in wrestling right now.
Need something.
Most popular thing in wrestling.
Who's winning your battle royal, Tim?
DiBiase.
Ah, not Goldust.
Did he buy it?
I assume he did. It was very inspired by WrestleMania 4. But I didn't want to just rip off that whole storyline clean.
Sure.
But also, I love Ted DiBiase too much to not have him involved.
Sure.
And then my hypothetical SummerSlam.
That'll
come next.
That's the next one. We're at Mania now.
Yes.
DiBiase
and then
SummerSlam. Yes. Sorry.
Just like Max, I had to have Rick Rude on the card.
Sure.
And Max knows my love of Randy Savage, so I'm going Savage and Rude at match 11.
That's a great match.
You get Miss Elizabeth involved in that, forget about it.
Yeah. Oh, right? I figured that was going to be like the instigating event. It was going to be
Randy
something
might
with
snap though.
What's that?
Real Randy might snap though.
Well,
all the stuff I've heard and read, that's a dangerous match.
And then match 12 is just setting up the big final 3. Match 12 is Undertaker and Warrior.
Okay. What are you doing with it?
I didn't put that much thought into it.
WrestleMania, you don't have to think. Undertaker doesn't lose.
What do you got, Max?
All
do you
right,
got?
so what are we at here? Let's see.
10, 11, and 12.
Number 10. So 10, another gimmick match. And now that I'm looking about where I put it on the card, it's kind of weird to put these two guys in basically the middle, nearer to the end, but still the middle. This is what I call the 6-pack corner beer brawl, where we now have the rings together now. So there's 6 corners or 6 posts. There's a can of beer at every corner. You win the match by chugging a beer at every corner. I'll give you 3 guesses about who's winning this match.
You got a Steve Austin. You got a
Steve Austin's winning.
Yeah, you got a Sandman in it.
We're going to put Steve Austin against another guy who's trying to sell beer. And in a way that, the fans today are going to watch this guy get his rear end kicked, whether it works for him or not, brother. Steve Austin's going over Hogan. Yep. Hogan's going to have Jimmy Hart. He's going to do the whole thing. And we could have The Rock come do a run in if we need to, because I'd like to have The Rock and Stone Cold at the end of the match. I don't know, chugging about 15 more beers themselves.
So this was just Rock. This was just Hogan Austin.
Hogan Austin, one-on-one 6-pack beer brawl challenge.
Right.
And I didn't put a lot of thought into who won other than
fans
Steve
have always wanted to see Hogan Austin. This is a fine one to do.
Yeah, and I guess being that you're not pinning Hogan or he's not tapping. I just drank my beer before you, and I knocked you silly so that I could do it.
To be honest, what you just pitched, I could see at a legitimate WrestleMania. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I can picture WWE saying, Hogan versus Austin, the match you've always wanted, in a way you never expected. And it just shows a fucking 12-pack of the Broken Skull Ale and a 12-pack of real American beer, and the two of them facing off. And they're just like got their hands back and they just reach down and both of them just start chugging. That's the promo. Do you need anything else? I'm going to pay that pay-per-view. So the match and the concept, I get the corner post. That's fun. Fuck it. I need a table with beer on it. Like the idea of this gets money and viewers. And it's great for both of their brands.
So that's 10. So 11 is the Strongman Challenge, which was kind of inspired in my mind how they put Warrior and Rude together.
Yep.
So we have John Cena, who's the big, strong American, against the Iron Sheik. Sure. And this all starts because John Cena was trying to do the Persian clubs and he couldn't do it. So the Sheik made fun of him and they set up this match. And during the match, Cena tries to pick up one of the clubs to hit Sheik with, but he can't do it. So, like, the Sheik clocks him with it, puts him in the camel clutch, and I'm wondering if Cena doesn't actually tap out if they do like a Steve Austin at WrestleMania 13 thing where he just passes out.
Yeah.
But the bell rings and the referee can't get the Sheik off. So then, yeah, that sounded really weird. So while the Sheik is like just killing John Cena, we get the Ultimate Warrior's music to hit. And he comes down and clocks the Sheik and throws him out and saves Cena, and they can pose at the end. And that gets my Warrior run in. And then match 12, and this is where I know my Mania is going like 9 hours. Match 12 is an Iron Man match.
Oh!
To find out who the real 60-minute man is. Between Bret Hart and Ric Flair. So Ric Flair, the way this works, I say Bret Hart reverses one of the figure fours into a small package. He gets fall number 1. For number 2, Bret Hart throws Flair into the buckle, and he starts running super hard. Even though we saw this before with Butcher, Bret Hart does one of those front bumps that he always used to do against the buckles, and Flair gets him with the schoolboy, and he pulls the tights, gets the feet on the ropes, whatever dirty pin that he can get. Later in the match, like maybe at the 25, 30-minute mark, the Horsemen come down and they do some kind of chicanery, and Flair gets another cheap, dirty pin. But then from like the 40-minute mark on, Hart just wails on him. I'm talking like Flair gets busted open. His hair is all red instead of blonde. And at the 30-second mark, Hart is like, I've got this one because I'm going to put him in the sharpshooter. He's going to give up, and then it's going to be overtime. So he gets him in the sharpshooter, and Flair is like wailing around, and we hear the bell, and Hart thinks it's going to overtime, but it's not. Flair held on, and he wins this one 2-1, and he is the true 60-minute man.
I like it. especially Flair and Hart. I'm surprised they didn't do an Iron Man. They're both incredible performers, and you're going to get your quote unquote sleeper of the night there between those two. That's going to be your best match on your card.
All right, Tim, you got 13, 14, 15. Close us out.
Let's see your main event. How we ended the night. He looks stone cold frozen, meaning he's actually freeze framed. He's not having a stroke, ladies and gentlemen. His camera has frozen.
Kind of.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. His Wi-Fi busts down a little bit. He'll be back in like 12 seconds.
That's fine.
That's
I think
soup and meatball technology.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much a perfect WrestleMania match is Hart and Flair in an Iron Man. That's gonna get you. That's gonna be a really fun match to watch.
The thing that got me though was just time wise. We're really Cena and Sheik. I didn't think would end up going super long, and the Steve Austin Hogan match. I mean, because it was just drinking beer.
Sure. I love that segment. It's a great segment.
Yeah. And you know what? You're right. You almost don't have to do any kind of actual physicality then between the two. How does one, like, if it's staged predetermined entertainment, how does one stage a beer drinking contest? Is that possible?
I would imagine both of those men can down a 6-pack real easy. I guarantee you can gimmick beer cans. Like you could reseal ones and have them not as full as the other ones if you really needed to gimmick it. But I would imagine that as a stunt man and as a stunt coordinator, there would be no real alcohol in them. There would be a little bit of liquid that would be foamy liquid inside of all of them, so I could do the takes all day long. And that they're not just going to be there going like, my bladder's full, I gotta go piss. As I say that, my wine's kicking through me. But yeah, no, it's
at the end of our show, like Tim, when Tim and I do these shows, we go 2.5 hours. Like, yeah, because I'm sitting here drinking water too. We always laugh like
ladies, kids at home. Water is what I'm drinking here out of my box of water.
So before Tim gets back here, and because you said you're talking about stuntmen and recording things.
Sure.
I honestly think as I look back, like my favorite WrestleMania match might have been Cena versus Bray Wyatt in the Funhouse match.
Absolutely, and
that was so entertaining.
It might have been my favorite WrestleMania for a lot of reasons because of that match, the Undertaker AJ Styles match. It gave validation to everything that I was doing here at the Sanctuary.
I remember you used to post about that.
Yeah, so many people really caca-cawed on the way that I handled business here. Hi, now I'm in the middle.
That's, we have a John sandwich.
Yeah. WrestleMania, the any of those cinematic matches really were some of my favorite things they ever produced because I truly said when I saw it, I said, this is the future of pro wrestling. I don't know why they completely threw away that method and technique. And I do know why. Because I've done the same mistake here at the Sanctuary. I had a big walkout of my roster at season 8. Like basically my entire roster quit. To which I said to them, okay, here I'm going to grab 6 kids off the street and I'll train them to be wrestlers. And now I have a new roster. Like it was just a very easy transition. But instead of just saying, here's these 6 kids off the street, I made the season about training 6 kids off the street, essentially. And the storyline and the development of their characters, because since you can't wrestle, you had to do a lot of performance. You had to do a lot of storytelling. You had to do a lot of character development. Why do we care about episode to episode when when John Cena and the entire flank just all walked and you got 6 new faces on TV? I need to know why. Why do I care about these people? Why am I tuning in next week for their story? And I truly believe when I did my season 9 here at the Sanctuary, it was the best season we ever did because It was so much story development, so much character production, and you knew everybody's brand and energy. I didn't have to tell the story in the ring because I told the story backstage. And that was, and no independent wrestling company does that kind of shit. They don't invest time and energy. And I think WWE lost a lot of magic that they didn't need to lose with abandoning the Cena and Bray Wyatt, Undertaker, and Jay Styles types of matches. I think those things, if you would include one of those each WrestleMania, you would make people very, very happy at home. And you would show Hollywood, hey, we're not just this stupid carny sideshow shit. We can produce cinematic moments like this. And here's the truth, and the reason why I say I know why WWE did is because I did the same thing. I fought with the State Athletic Commission during this entire time, during the entire season 9, I was producing this show, and I was like, this is nothing like wrestling anymore. And we went to season 10, and we went into season 10 with the COVID era. The moment we came out of COVID, I won the State Athletic case. I got lazy. It is so lazy to just say, that guy versus that guy, those are two counter emotions. That guy versus that guy, that's a big guy, that's a little guy, or that's two big guys, or that's two cruiserweights that are going to give me the Rey Mysterio, Ricky Steamboat match. And look, it's a great match, but it's easy booking to say that and that are going to give me that without having a lot of thought put into it about, well, why does Ray care about the Ricky thing, and what is the build up to this match, and what is the motion other than, well, fuck, I just wanted to watch it. And a lot of times in booking, all you have to do is come up with, fuck,
Well, I want to see.
watch it. So you stop telling stories.
And that's what we're doing.
I actually like this little conversation we had because it's been therapeutic for me, and it makes me have to be a better writer in the future. So sorry, let's go back to our WrestleMania main events.
Aim to please here. So, Tim, you're on match 13 now. If you're back,
Yes. So I did kind of do what he was just saying about, like, boy, I just want to see these two wrestle for each of my last 3. But
that's
my number. What's that?
That is this exercise. What we're doing is dream matches. It's not, hey, are you a good booker? That's not the test. But when Max said, hey, tear me apart and give me what makes a good booker, I'm trying to explain what does too.
Right. And like when I approached it, I was kind of like looking at like WrestleManias 1 through 6 when I was really, really watching. It's sort of like the template where you kind of had those bathroom matches sometimes where Hercules and Billy Jack Haynes were going to wrestle. And it's like, okay, well, I can walk away for 5 minutes. But match 13 is not a bathroom match. It is Shawn Michaels and John Cena.
Great match.
14. I go triple threat with Rock, Flair, and Hart. So Max and I were thinking similarly. And also, what's that?
I don't think Rock can keep up.
Oh, I don't either.
I would say yank out him and throw in CM Punk. And you got a CM Punk in that match. You have somebody that goes an hour that can work. But it's no disrespect to The Rock it is disrespect to The Rock as a worker. Rock is a mic worker more than he is a wrestler.
Right.
But go on.
And then match 15, again, Max and I had the same thought because I was thinking about the buildup for Hogan Austin.
Yeah. It's tough to have anybody caca on, Hogan in his prime and Steve Austin in his prime. Who do you have Hogan as NWO Hollywood Hogan? Or do you have him as Real American Hogan? And do you have Stone Cold Steve Austin just as baby-faced, beer-drinking Austin the way Warrior came in face-face? How do you do that?
Yeah, I was thinking face-face. I thought specifically like 80s flag tearing off the yellow shirt Hogan.
That is, from a booking standpoint, if we're able to move and just say, yeah, we're moving this to the time period, you have the dream match that I think so many in WWE and WCW as bookers wanted to make happen but never found a way. That match is the money match, and it just never made it to TV. And
it's just like
you can't compare it to any other match because they're the two biggest of their time.
Was it Hogan's ego that he wouldn't? Because at that point in his career,
I heard neither. I heard both said no to the job.
Okay.
Because I think it was rumored and the conversation was there, and neither one wanted to do business. Hogan felt he did the job to The Rock, and I think he didn't want to do it to Austin at that time. And I think the time that the conversation came up was post the Rock Hogan thing. Austin was in weird terms with WWE, if you remember, when Rock took that match, and it was Austin versus Razor Ramon. Didn't Austin just leave after that?
I thought the story I remember was they wanted Austin to lose to Lesnar, but like on a Monday Night Raw, and Austin was like, "Dude, why are we not doing this on a pay-per-view? There's no build-up, there's no money," and then he left.
Wasn't that shortly after him having to wrestle Razor at Mania?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that was a salty fucking thing with Austin, because Austin, I think, did want him and Hogan at Mania, but then The Rock got it. Which, history-wise, I think if the roles were reversed, we'd be bitching about how The Rock and Hogan never did it. So it's
What's tough though is Hogan was massive in the 80s and like into the early 90s, and then The Rock and Stone Cold were massive in the late 90s and the early 2000s. Their paths didn't cross, which is what we're doing here. We're putting the prime against the prime. We're getting that chance.
Yeah. So we're on your main event match. So here we go.
I'm going to finish up. I have 4 of them because, again, I cheated with my opener being as a double. So the tag team titles are up on the line in a 2 out of 3 falls match where both members of a team have to be pinned or tap or something. So, like, you can't just get one of them. And the Road Warriors are going to go over the Hardy Boys as Hawk and Jeff get caught brawling up the ramp, and there's a double count out, so there's 2 falls right away. But then they get the Doomsday Device on Matt, and Road Warriors LOD get the win there. The last of the Carrot Top stuff, I didn't think we could have a WrestleMania without an Undertaker match, and I said, you know what? I really wanted to see him against like a healthy prime Undertaker against Bray Wyatt. But then I thought, Jake Roberts was an evil dude. Let's get him in this evil darkness match. But I need another guy, so let's get the Undertaker's brother Kane involved somehow. So we have a 3-way, we have 3 coffins at the match that we have to stuff with dudes.
I like the 4 coffins, the 3 coffins. Yeah.
So we have a 3-way coffin match that obviously it's WrestleMania. The Undertaker's going to win. My Legends match has Andre the Giant defeating Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah.
And then in the main event, which we learned about it in the opener, I'm not a Shawn Michaels guy, but the dude can work, so he's going to put a good match together. But Randy Savage is walking out with the belt.
My favorite of all time, and I'm fine with that. I like your main event booking there. Where did Randy Savage make it on I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Tim.
Where did Savage make it on your card?
Savage was match 11 against Rick Rude.
Okay, that's fine too. That was a fun match. It's because you got the Miss Elizabeth factor in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there I am.
So this was. Oh no, I forgot to put this. The Soup and Meatball Mania.
Oh.
What is?
I primed it up
like
for
the
us.
flames.
So
I like the logo.
I will not take credit for that. You know where that came from.
Yeah. Our producer.
If I didn't do it, but that as far as length goes, like I said, I think mine goes 9 hours, but I don't really care. This was a fun exercise, and John, you said this was like grading. Is this the kind of stuff that guys do behind the scenes to try to get better?
I would say that we do it with a lot of. I have people pitch me fantasy cards for the Sanctuary, basically using our rosters, and I have them try to pitch me fantasy angles essentially, and say, well, how would you? One of the number one things I make young guys who try to write stories for themselves, because everybody always comes to me and says, hey, I have this great idea for me. doing this thing for me. And one of the games I always play with them and say, well, that's a really good story. Who on this roster could you apply that to better than you? And they hate that because now they have to take their really hard intellectual work that they did marking out for themselves and give somebody else that kind of a rub. And then I sit there and say, now imagine if everybody came up to me with this exact same story. So, like, the number one rule in wrestling is I don't mind if you're going to pitch something for yourself, but the follow up question is who does this benefit other than you, and how does this raise all ships? Like the tide's got to raise all ships, and it can't just be self marking and just, it's what's best for me, boss, and it's going to do really good for me because you believe in me and I believe in me and my mom believes in me and me. It's trying, which is honestly one of the reasons why we're in an off season this year. I've owned the sanctuary now for like 13 years. We've done over 15 seasons. It is exhausting at times because it is dealing with ego at all times. So it's a balance between, can you write a good story for yourself and can you carry it and help others? So yeah, similar exercises when I work with somebody that's not the wrestlers in here in booking. It usually is trying to see how we try to grab one object, like one character, and figure out a way to get them to somewhere. And again, similarly, how does this benefit others as we're trying to get somebody to that point? And what can we do to reduce collateral damage in the process of getting him to that point? One of the things that we talk about is the distraction. Somebody like Cody Rhodes, when he comes back, needs a distraction because otherwise, why isn't he going right after John Cena? I want my rematch. We should be the main event of Backlash. Why the fuck is Randy Orton the main event of Backlash? So the moment Cody Rhodes comes back, somebody's music's got to hit to be his distraction. What is it that keeps him hot and alive after just losing what meant the entire world to him? And it's got to be somebody that he gets to beat, because you can't just keep King Cody. You gotta give him a rub now. Who can we give him that is important enough to make him shiny again, but also not damage the person that we're giving that rub to?
I know who.
Go on. Tim, we could let you just fucking take Cody Cutters all day.
Yes.
It's a front bump. It's pretty easy.
I still know how to apply a figure 4 leg lock.
I'll be honest, figure 4 leg lock's a complicated move. I'm sure that since you've done that, you realize
to do it correctly. You're not hurting the guy. Yeah, we used to hurt each other.
Yeah.
If you reverse the figure 4 leg lock, it does not reverse the pressure like they show you on TV. It's still.
I was always curious about that because we never did that.
No, it still hurts the person that you're doing it to. That makes no difference.
Yeah, because it's still their own ankle going into their shin.
Yeah, it still sucks for them the entire time.
Important safety tip. Thanks, Egon.
I'll be back in a second. I got to grab something. I'll be back, and then you guys carry on. Sorry. Right back.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. So we're going to move on. And John, you're welcome to hang out with us as long as you want. I know you have some training to do there at the sanctuary, but down the line for us, we talk a little bit about other sports as well. In the NBA, I spent the better part of Saturday at a jazz festival with my son, and I didn't see a lot of the NBA. I caught the end of the Warriors comeback with the Rockets yesterday. Tim, did you see any of the NBA yesterday?
Yeah, I've been watching a lot of NBA this weekend, and just like we thought, the most fun series are out in the West. I don't know that there's a better series right now than Denver, LA, the Clippers and Nuggets.
I think New York, Detroit is close.
New York, Detroit's a lot of fun, very physical. And Golden
it feels
State
very
Houston,
90s.
That's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. But then, of course, what's worse? What's worse, Tim, losing a playoff game by 50 or losing a 29-point lead in a game where you're down in a series where you're down 0-2.
It's the second one because they also lost Ja. They lose the lead, they lose their star, and they lost game 3. It was just.
And they were. Looks like they were 2 points in game 4. There, they lost 117-115. Thunder move on to everyone's surprise, and I think you're going to see Cleveland and. Then they move on as well. I'm surprised that when I was putting this together, the Magic pulled a win out against Boston at home.
Yeah.
They're not going away quietly.
Yeah. Well, that series has been very physical. Jason Tatum suffered a bone bruise to his one wrist when he was going in for a dunk and someone sort of mildly undercut him. Porzingis had to get stitches in his head because he took an elbow to his head. The refs are just letting him do it. But, as long as Boston makes it out, without a major injury, I think they should still win this in 5, maybe 6.
Yeah, and if the Knicks can knock off Detroit, that's an easy 4 games. So the Knicks can't beat Boston.
No, I'd much rather Boston have
happen.
to play the Knicks than have to play the Pistons. The Pistons give me a little pause.
What do you mean? What's a little pause? Like you think you're going to lose a game?
They haven't been here, so they don't know they're supposed to lose. That's what scares me about Detroit.
Okay.
They're young. They've won 30 more games than they did last year. They could just go on one of those like Mr. Magoo runs where they stay afloat in the air because they don't know that they're suspended without anything underneath their feet.
I know nothing about football.
Out west. I love that. I love that for you. Football's next. This is a round ball through hoop.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love the fact that Minnesota's winning.
Yeah, I'd really like to see them beat the Lakers.
So, I mean, by the time we air next week, we'll be in round 2, I think.
Yes.
So, I think we'll have Cavs. Pacers Bucks is close. Whoever the Cavs will play, I think the Knicks knock off the Pistons. You like the Pacers?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go with that.
I think we end up with the Pacers. The Pacers have been more consistent than the Bucks have, even though Giannis is the best player in the series.
And we're going to get New York, Boston. The Thunder are already waiting for either Denver or LA, and that's a fun series, like you said.
Yeah.
I'm going to take. You know what? I'll take LA because I think Kawhi is. I think he's that guy.
And LA's been more consistently good than Denver has. Denver's scoring comes and goes.
I have a hard time betting against the Lakers, but I don't. I'm just rooting for Minnesota, so that's my heart, not my head. And I think Golden State, if they can get one more win at home, I think they can steal one on the road. So I'll say Golden State versus Minnesota then.
Yeah, I also like Golden State, especially if Jimmy Butler's getting a little healthy. I don't know if you saw him. Did you see him hit the deck the other night when he got undercut by Ben Thompson?
I did see he was not playing yesterday.
Yeah, he bruised a hip. He took a pretty nasty spill.
They play tomorrow, I think. Tomorrow at 10 on TNT. So yes. There it is, our weekly look at the NBA. Last weekend, or this weekend, big weekend in the NFL. And Tim, we didn't do terrible. Remember the last week we did or 2 weeks ago, we did our mock draft.
Yes.
And both of us got one correct. I got the number 1 guy correct because who wasn't? Right. You got Ashton Gentry to the Raiders. But everything else, I calculated how many numbers we were off. We were off by a total of 22. The biggest one was my miscalculation of how Ty Warren was going to be viewed. I had him going to the Jets. He ended up going to the Colts. You were off on Will Campbell. Will Campbell went 4th. You had him going 10th to my Bears. But overall, I really think the easy story in this is Shedeur Sanders. What did you think of his fall, man?
I don't know what to make of it, except that I wish I knew what he said in his like combine interviews. Like he
You
was
think he
seen
just
as like a top 5 pick, and for him to drop to the third day is just inexplicable.
some of the guys picked ahead of him? Like, oh my,
Like Jackson
I
Dart,
don't
I
even
could
know some of these
see.
guys.
Well, there was the Dylan Gabriel kid from Oregon was picked ahead of him
By the
by
same
Cleveland.
team.
Yeah,
That's the thing that really got me. So Cleveland's quarterback room now: Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco. They got one other. Oh, the guy from Pitt that was Kenny Pickett.
yeah.
And then they have two. They drafted Gabriel and Sanders. Now, what are they doing?
You know, it reminds me of that scene in The Dark Knight when the Joker breaks the pool cue in half and throws it on the floor. That's what the Browns are doing with Dylan Gabriel and Shadur Sanders. Like, I'm sure one of you, will prove yourself.
Which one of you wants it? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I like that. If you look across the comparison people want to bring up, Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round, whatever. If you look in the 5th round specifically, there were some really good players. I looked it up: Zach Thomas, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, some guy named Mike Webster made the Hall of Fame.
Former Bloomsburg University great Jari Evans was a third-day pick by the
There
New
you
Orleans.
go. So, I don't know what he said or what happened. I do know that he's coming. He has a big chip on his shoulder now, and that could be dangerous for other teams.
But also, talk about Shadur is going to be what dominates until the season and even into the season, especially because they don't have that one guy who. It's not like Kansas City drafted him, where it's like, oh, is he going to take over for Mahomes? Like the fact that there's such a vacuum at quarterback means that it could be Shadur.
Yeah,
At least in fans' minds, but like because otherwise, what you're going to give it to 38-year-old Joe Flacco?
maybe not day one. Maybe Joe Flacco is what they bring in for day one to let Sanders or whoever learn. I don't think it's going to be Kenny Pickett.
No.
I think I have a better chance than Kenny Pickett does. So, I mean, I think the Browns did do really well. If you talk winners and losers, I like the trade down. Yeah, they didn't get people consider Travis Hunter the best player in the draft. They get out of him, but they get a lot of draft capital, and they get a really solid player in Mason Graham, and they get some extra picks. Dude, I know I'm a Bears fan, and it's going to sound like homery, but I really like what Chicago did. And the second they drafted Colston Loveland, my first thought was, Colston Loveland? They couldn't get him at 20? They couldn't move back? Maybe not. A lot of scouts had them graded equally to Warren. And the more I read, the more it seems like he fits Ben Johnson's system. And then they couple him with Luther Bourdain. He sounds like a chef, but he's a wideout. Caleb Williams is a big winner in this draft, I think. He's got a lot of stuff to play with now.
Well, yeah, as long as they can keep him on his feet.
Well, they addressed the offensive line in free agency. They did that, and they went out. They did get 2 offensive linemen later in the draft. So I think they neglected the defense a little bit. But Ben Johnson's the coach. What do you
focus
expect?
on the offense? The defense was what kept them in games last year.
Offense was so bad. So bad. You were big on the Eagles' first-round pick. What's that guy's name? Campbell.
Yeah, I believe he pronounces his first name Jihad.
Sure.
I didn't want to make it seem like I was making like some sort of like. But either way, I just like the versatility he brings. He's 235. You could bulk him up and he can play the inside. You can put him on the edge. The Eagles lost in the Kobe Dean last year during the playoffs, so it just shows that you can always use depth like that at linebacker. I think it's a great pick. The fact that people around the league are angry that the Eagles got this Campbell kid from Alabama it makes me happy. It means they did something right.
The Eagles got 3 more SEC players, which is, you always look for stuff like that. As far as, losers beyond Shadur Sanders, I was looking at who the Bears were picking because I was just going through the draft, and their 7th rounder I saw Quinn Ewers got picked in the 7th round. Like the Texas quarterback, wasn't he supposed to be a big deal?
Yeah, he was in Heisman contention.
That was a big slide.
Like before the season started, the talk was that he was going to be a Heisman guy. Then he got hurt. Then he came back. Then he was kind of all over the map. Then people wanted Arch Manning to take his job. I'll tell you what, a point of local interest, kid from Southern Columbia, Julian Fleming, undrafted but signed with the Packers.
Oh, okay. So I didn't know when he was eligible. I thought he might have had one more year because he was at Penn State last year, right?
Yeah, he'd been at Ohio State.
That
Then
was
the transfer
last year.
portal. He played at Penn State last year.
So he's a Packer now.
Yeah, undrafted free agent with the Packers.
Went from Ohio State to Green Bay. The Bears fan and Michigan fan and me, yeah, I don't like him. Speaking of Michigan, and Will Johnson slid to Arizona. I don't wonder how injured he really was. He didn't do his pro day. He didn't do the combine. Not a surprise he fell to round 2. But if he's healthy, man, is he a steal.
When he was healthy, he was seen as a top 10 guy.
Yeah. He might have been a top 5 guy, but
yeah, because people were saying, was he a better prospect than Graham?
So you mentioned the undrafted free agency that hit. I checked the NFL.com. The Bears have 2 so far best names in the draft. You ready for this? They have a safety named Major Burns, and they got a
Major
linebacker
Frank
from
Burns
North.
from MASH.
Major Burns,
Lieutenant Frank Burns from the 407th.
They have a linebacker from North Carolina. It's even better. Power Equals.
Oh, I love both those names. Those are great names.
Power Equals sounds like a wrestling name, doesn't it?
It does.
Max, you remember my wrestling name?
Yeah. You were not overly great. You weren't like superly great. You were supremely great.
Supreme Lee, Lee, great. Lee Great. And for the record, the great, Supreme Lee Great. I'm going to leave you with one note before I leave. So we did a benefit show for who knows what charity up in Boston, Massachusetts, when I was first starting off. The Miz was on the show, and I was wrestling some jobber named Jay Busta. But before all of my matches, I'd be cutting a promo, and there was another group of people there that were for that same fundraiser, and it was the Patriots offensive line, to which it was the first year that Tom Brady was their quarterback, to which I was cutting a promo on him about how he's a nothing, a nobody, a garbage draft pick, and how he'll never live up to Drew Bledsoe or whatever the fuck the guy is. Like, and it was just one of those, you know, and for the, as you heard me in this conversation, chiming in left and right, I don't know fucking shit about football at all. Not at all. The referee did, and the referee's like, tell him it'll be no Drew Bledsoe. I was like, and you'll never be Drew Bledsoe. You know, and it's one of those moments that and it's funny because like the whole fucking line was like, fuck you. And I was like, yeah, we got him. That's all that fucking matters on this night. So there's a random story that I can connect with our wrestling conversation with this football conversation, as I say to you. Thank you for having me on, and may you
Thank you, John.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
It was really an enjoyable thing. Hopefully I wasn't too mean with my criticisms of your cards. No. I really enjoyed a fun little walk in history over Mania. So I'll see you guys next time. I'm going to get ready for training.
All right, go get him, John.
Sounds good.
See you guys.
Bye.
That was really cool.
Who could have known that that moment was what led Tom Brady to become what he did?
So I'm trying to think to myself.
At a wrestling show.
Have I ever had that kind of brush with greatness before? That's cool. But you know what? Like a lot of wrestlers do that. They show up at stadiums and they just trash the local sports team. And in the business I think they call that cheap heat, because that's the easy way to get the fans going. But I'll tell you, at the NFL draft, we're talking draft, Clay Matthews comes out and does the whole President Trump says the Bears suck. You know what? Seth Rollins, pro wrestler, comes out round 3 and announces the Bears pick, and absolutely shows you how it's done for real. Like Clay Matthews tried, and I think he whiffed. Yeah. But Seth Rollins came out. I didn't know he was a Bears fan. That's cool to me.
I loved a few years ago when the draft was in Dallas and David Akers came out and was trolling the Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
Well,
he's a kicker. That's even better. So like the thing, like if we were standing next to John, like you said, was about 5'6", and he was like a cruiserweight size guy telling the New England offensive line that their quarterback stinks. That's insane to me because I stood next to IUP linemen. I knew how big they were, so I can imagine how big Patriots linemen are. That's funny to me. That's funny to me.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting stuff too. Just like hearing, kind of like insidery stuff about the business.
Peek behind the curtain. It's like talking to the Great Wizard of Oz. And the concept of actually putting a card together, like how you go up and down, awesome stuff. So thank you to him. And I don't know if we can do a SummerSlam card because WrestleMania is so easy. SummerSlam, you got to paddle it down.
Now, Survivor Series would be interesting.
Yes, yeah, we'll do that. Definitely. So book that, write that down for like near Thanksgiving. Got to be the 5-on-5 though. So
Rude's Brood, brother.
Back onto a Rude Brood, and you had to give names. Those that was tough, man. So back to football and the undrafted free agents. I'm sure the Eagles have signed somebody by now. This morning when I looked, they were one of 9 teams that hadn't signed anybody, probably because the Vikings and Chargers had signed them all. The Vikings had like 20. The Chargers had 18. And so, and I think that
one thing I'd like to point out about yesterday in the draft, and it was something that ESPN said up top before the picks started coming in, was in 2024, I think it was 63% of players on NFL rosters were either picked on the last day or undrafted free agents. So that's more than half the league. So, people who are like, it lacks the name value, but this is where you build your depth.
So, I mean, later on in the show, it's like something came up that required me to do some draft research. And I always wondered, I had this weird fantasy growing up, like if I could go back in time and tell the Bears who to draft. So like instead of drafting Curtis Enos, could you draft Ray Lewis or somebody? But you don't know if the same career trajectory would happen. Curtis Enos could rush for 25,000 yards, then who knows? But the first round, the lack of all pros across first rounds is surprising to me.
And just like, it's always amusing to me how everyone's an instant expert. Like even you and me, it's not like we've watched the tape, but like to see Mel Kiper, the video of him just going out of his mind about Shadur Sanders. It's like, Mel, you've been wrong a lot. Like,
I go back to Mel Kiper and Jim Harbaugh. They're not going to do anything with Jim Harbaugh. They went to the AFC Championship game. Shut up. Marshall Faulk's a Hall of Famer. Shut up.
Yeah, because and look, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl, but that's who Mel Kiper was champion.
No,
what's that?
No, Trent Dilfer, he managed a Super Bowl defense. He didn't win anything.
You get my point.
He has a ring. I don't. I got you. Well, so we'll see when minicamp comes if these guys pan out when the season starts. The one other thing I'm going to throw out there, because I saw this on the Book of Face and I'm entertained by it. The Pittsburgh Steelers drafting Will Howard and Jack Sawyer. They finally got their gold pants, Tim.
Yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
And it's funny because I didn't know what to do with the whole Will Howard. Like, he seemed to interview well, but just watching his pro day, like he had like a noticeably bad pro day, like was missing wildly on throws.
I think he's going to fit in Pittsburgh, and their first round pick was a defensive tackle. I think that was the most Pittsburgh Steeler pick you could ever have. Like I remember back in whatever the year Casey Hampton was picked.
Okay.
Everybody was like, "Who the heck's Casey Hampton?" And he was an all-pro nose tackle. That's what Pittsburgh needs, and I think Jack Sawyer will fit in with the team concept. And they have a quarterback now. Whether it's a good one or not, we'll find out. But I thought the gold pants thing was kind of funny, so we'll go with that. Baseball wise, last night, I don't know if you saw this, Diamondback third baseman Eugenio Suarez came into last night's game against the Braves hitting 167, and after Saturday he's up to 202, a 4-home run game, 19th player in history to do that. We talked about rarities, remember a couple weeks ago? There's been 24 perfect games. He's the 19th player to hit 4 home runs in a game. But how about he's the 3rd player to do it and lose? Because the Braves actually won. They had a 10th inning, 8-7, I want to say, so I will. 10th inning, 8-7 win over the Diamondbacks. But cool thing for Eugenio.
Yeah, and I hadn't seen that because I fell asleep watching basketball.
I saw it this morning. It was like, hey, it's the top story in Major League Baseball. The other thing, I want to share this because I just think it's crazy. In terms of like these emails I get, A's rookie Jacob Wilson there on the screen. He dug into the box Wednesday night, a little bit before 11. As the story says, uncharted territory in a 2-1 count, and he watched the ball go past, giving him a 3-ball count. 88 at-bats, he had not seen a 3-ball count yet. And I thought to myself, who's tracking this? Well, StatCast is. 275 batters this year have taken 50 or more at-bats, and only one of them had not seen a 3-ball count. It was this cat, Jacob Wilson. Free swinger, I guess. But he drew a walk. Good for Jacob Latz was the pitcher who walked him. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that's why I like baseball. Nobody cares about Oakland or Sacramento or whoever this is, but there's a really cool story for this kid. It took him, 28 games to see a 3-ball count. And he's a starter. Like he's had at-bats this year. He's had 300 at-bats. Not 300 bats. 90
I was going to say 300 is like half the season.
Yeah. Now, the other big thing that I saw outside of Yankees Red Sox, there was a player for the Mets St. Lucie team, single A, fired a pitch at 104.5 miles an hour. Fastest pitch across baseball this year. Guy's name is Ramon Gomez. Starter. But in 3 starts, he's pitched 7 2/3 innings. So I don't know how much. I mean, he's going like 2-3 innings. But when you're throwing 104, you're not saving stuff. Like that guy just has Tommy John written all over him.
Yeah, and the fact that he's thrown with that kind of heat. How old a kid is he? Did it say?
Oh, he's a puppy.
Like 19?
Something like that. Ramon Gomez is 74 years old.
Oh boy, then he might be older than the actual Tommy John.
That is the dramatist.
Oh,
so let's see if he's 20.
So he's a great pitcher and a playwright,
and he's recovering. He's recovering from Tommy John surgery.
Well, what better way to recover than to wing it at 105 miles an hour? Golly.
God. But I saw that. You can look up the video. I watched the video. It didn't look 104. But I mean, what do I know?
It was a deceiving 104.
I would like to see 104 coming out of the Yankee bullpen. I'll tell you that because Devin Williams blew another one, and the Yankees are in first place, but really because the Red Sox have 3 more losses than they do. They both have 15 wins atop the AL East. I think Devin Williams will fix things. He'll right the ship maybe eventually, but I don't know what's going on there, man. They better figure something out.
What do we think about the East? Because no one's really separated themselves so far 1 month in. I mean, Baltimore separated themselves at the bottom.
And they were my pick to win it, so it shows what I know. It'll be a slogfest. I think it's not as top-heavy as the NL West. I mean, let's get that straight. The NL West is just
4 heavyweight sluggers and then the 4 Rockies just getting beat up by 4 big brothers.
Yeah, well, Rockies are Glass Joe, and meanwhile we have, Tyson, Super Macho Man, Bald
Soda
Bull,
Poppy.
and the Sandman, just loading down. And they've come back down a little bit. The Diamondbacks, they've actually lost 4 in a row. They're almost at 500 now. But I mean, the East, I think it's going to be it'll be a good race into August, barring an injury. And I don't know. I didn't look up when or if Heel is coming back for the Yankees. I know Cole is not, but if the Yankees can get one of those guys back, either Heel or Schmidt had come back and pitched well, I don't think they're going away, despite Williams's just lack of desire to close a game. Offensively, they've gotten nothing from Cody Bellinger. They've gotten nothing from Anthony Volpe. They've really, the offense has been disappointing, but there they are, right there. And baseball's a marathon, so I think they'll be there. And I liked Boston to be a playoff team, so I think it'll be a fun.
I'll tell you,
race.
because Boston, they're right there at 500 in second place, but they have not had a great month. I don't think they've played their best baseball yet. I think just based on what I've seen, that they are going to be, in it for a playoff push. And I'm curious what that's going to mean for the trade deadline, especially, if injuries take a toll.
Here's the trade deadline is so weird now because of the 6 playoff teams. Like, you could be 4 games under 500, but 2 games out of the playoffs. So I don't think we've seen hardcore selling like we've seen like in the past, like in the 90s,
Right.
Early 2000s. People hold on to their guys now, except the White Sox. The White Sox will dump somebody. I'm looking at the Red Sox schedule now. Like they're in Cleveland, then they go to Toronto. That's going to be an important series for them. But then they got the Twins, the Rangers, and the Royals, and then the Tigers. That's a tough stretch. And even then, the 3-game break they get is Atlanta.
Yeah, and what I was going to say is the Tigers have been playing really well. They had a really nice start to the season.
Yeah, and so, I mean, after Atlanta, they go to no, I was going to call it Shea, but it's not Shea, it's Citi Field, where the Mets can't lose. They're 12
I've still never been to Citi Field.
I was at Shea once, and that was enough.
Yeah, Shea was a toilet right by the airport.
Yeah, and I went out to a game with Rigotti. I forget who they played. But I mean, it was neat. I mean, somebody had a home run. The apple came out of the hat. I did the thing. I don't need to go back. So, but as far as the Mets, I had the Phil. Who did I have winning that division? The Phillies, I think.
Did we both have the Phillies?
I heard that somebody on the radio. Yeah. No, I had the Braves. There they are, 12-14. They had a terrible start.
I think I had the Phillies winning the East. I had the Pirates winning the Central, and then I had the Dodgers winning the West.
My Cubs pick looks good in April. I heard somebody on the radio. They're talking about the Mets start. It was either Steve Torre or Chris Russo, because it was those two talking, and they mentioned that the Mets have a 5-game lead, and they basically said that the division race is over. And I thought to myself, dude, you haven't played 30 games. You haven't played 30 games. You play 162. Somebody on the Mets is going to get hurt. You know that. The pitching, I don't think, is going to hold up as well as they're pitching now.
Even all-time great teams have slumps where they lose, 3 or 4 in a row.
This isn't the NFL where in week 10 you can call a division. But, again, they're big-time radio guys. You and I are out here eating super meatballs. What do we know?
I'd rather be us than them. How many professional wrestlers did they have on their show?
I don't know. I don't listen to them enough. Maybe. I'll tell you what. Oh, I forgot to tell John this. But speaking of the way the media views pro wrestling, this is great how there's a flip-flop based on who you work for. When the guy who hosts The Herd, Double C, was on ESPN, he used to call wrestling fans booger eaters. And he came out and said wrestling was fake. And I called up, and the first thing I told this producer, I wanted to debate him because wrestling isn't fake. And I'm sure that producer was like drooling. They're like, oh, yeah, Booger Eater number 2 is on the line calling, eat him up. And I gave him the spiel about how, yeah, I'm not trying to hurt my opponent, but if I pick you up over my head and I throw you on the ground, I mean, there's no amount of spring. Like, I've been in a wrestling ring. It doesn't feel good. If you do a flip and you miss, you're putting your health at risk. It is a live stunt show with no safety net. And he didn't really have an answer to that. He dismissed me, blew me off because he's like, oh, crap, intelligent person talking. But then when he goes to Fox, he's actually promoting WrestleMania. I thought that's hilarious to me. Like, oh yeah, and he had like The Rock on his show.
He doesn't have any real convictions except ratings.
And you know what? I understand that. I appreciate that. That's how he gets paid. The second hour sponsors here start telling us what to say. We'll start promoting their stuff. I guess we got to get sponsors.
Yeah, Campbell's Soup seems like a natural one, or Progresso.
Yeah, I mean, Mario's Meatballs can just pay me in meatballs.
I don't need paying soup.
I don't need compensation. So there we go. Quick hitter time for you. Number 1. I don't know if you saw this story, but I think it's kind of funny. Abdul Carter, your number 1 player in the draft, was drafted by the Giants. He apparently reached out to LT asking if he could wear number 56. LT respectfully declined, saying, make your own, Mark. I don't care if it's 00. Tim, what are your thoughts on Abdul Carter asking LT for 56?
You know what? I like the ambition. To come in, with the number 3 pick and want the most identifiable number in franchise history and one of the most identifiable numbers in league history. When you see 56, you only think of one player.
Yes, it kind of screams fanboy to me, but good for him for trying, I guess. Number 2, we are 26 games into the New York Yankees season, about 16% of the way through. Aaron Judge is hitting .408. When does the media start making a big deal about his chances about can he do this for the whole season?
When the first All-Star vote totals are released, like sometime early to mid-June.
Okay. I'm just wondering when we can start making a big deal of it here. So I now know.
I'll say
Number
this.
3.
If he's still hitting 400 at the All-Star break, it's absolutely a conversation.
There you go. Number 3. I saw a Facebook post earlier today about a company called Serpenter's Lair. I'll give them a shout out. I don't even care. They don't sponsor us. Serpenter's Lair remaking classic 80s toys. And the post I saw was about Mask, Mobile Armored Strike Command. Tim, looking back, what do you think would be the best 80s toy to sell today in 2025? What would work best?
Honestly, I don't know if you'd consider it a toy so much. What about starting lineup figures? Like just with the sports memorabilia market?
Well, we have those kind of, sort of. They're called Fungo Pops. I mean, they're not. I mean, they're close. There's Eddie Munson,
but I mean,
my
like
guy.
Starting lineups were more realistic. It was like guys, made in their actual likeness, doing sports things. I
remember the McFarlane statues.
I used to love them.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple Yankee ones of those. Those are like starting lineups.
Yeah,
on
I have a McNabb one.
Yeah, but so the Mask post that I saw was like the same size. Like they weren't doing it better. Same size, just remake. I think the art was a little tweaked. I think you know what? A starting lineup figure, which is about the size of this Darth Maul guy. I have a starting lineup around here. Hang on. Where is he? Yeah. I brought him on the show before. The Don Mattingly with the name on the back. But something about this size, though, with new molds. Yeah, I buy that.
Because like people our age would buy it as a retro thing, and young fans would buy it the same way we did in the 80s and 90s.
There you go. All right, number 4. Today in world, global, national, whatever history, 1791. A gentleman named Samuel Morse was born in Charlestown, Massachusetts. Tim, do you know any Morse code?
Is SOS, is it dash, 2 dots, and a dash?
I thought it was ... dash ... but
Well,
I didn't look it up because I don't know
an
any Morse
emergency
code.
at sea, I guess. Although I would imagine if you get Morse code from any boat, just assume it's on fire or going underwater or something. It's probably an emergency. Like, how many boats are sending out a Morse code? It's like, hey, having a great time. Don't worry about us.
All's good.
Yeah. Copacetic. What's
to
Morse code for copacetic?
get on the talk of tick and search North Sea. You'll never get on a boat again, and trust me. Good deal. That's a heavy A block today. I mean, that's a show's worth of A block, but we had really good stuff, man. I don't even feel bad about it. How you feeling? You good to go on? You good to draft
I've got
here?
my draft already.
Cool. We got to get the magic drafter out, and I don't know why I shuffle these, but I do, and I screwed it up. But I'm going to turn the light off, so I'm going to be mad dark for like a second here. Number and card color.
4 red.
2, 3, 4. You said red. You got it, man. 9 of diamonds.
What's
so
the document?
As I re-illuminate myself. Oh, this is a good one. 1794. So really just a couple years after the Morse code
They were
guy.
sending out invitations
Samuel
to
Morse's
his 3rd birthday party. or to birthday announcement.
And he could have sent one to Eli Whitney after he patented the cotton gin. So the patent for the cotton gin in 1794. There it is. Cool deal. So you and this is a valuable first pick. What are we drafting today?
We are drafting our all-time favorite sports video games. And I don't think it's going to surprise anyone, least of all you, what my number 1 pick is.
Actually, you know what? I think I know what it's going to be, but I know what it could be with you.
That's true. This is a bit of an either or, but I'm going Tecmo Super Bowl.
Yeah, so that was what I imagined. This is in the running for the best period. Like you would include like Mario's and Zelda's. This would be the best game, period.
Just the replayability factor, like the way that like it's hard to express to someone who didn't grow up with it how revolutionary it was that you had season stats, that you could turn the game off and have your stats saved with real players, like an entire roster, not just skill guys. You had the 2 Pro Bowl rosters that hadn't been done. And the hours that we spent playing it.
For me, right now, currently live on air, we are at it's 12:01 p.m. on Sunday. Let's see, 34 years ago today, we would have been sitting in my basement blue room with the Nintendo, and it was like, who are we going to play as this week? Were we going to play like a really good team like the Giants or the Niners? I don't think we liked the Niners too much because they were always good. You know, the Chiefs
Raiders.
Or like a good team, or were we going to play the worst team? Like the Colts and the Patriots were the worst. We won Super Bowls, I want to say, with everybody.
The Bucks were supposed to be bad because they were bad at that time, but they had a good backfield. The Cobb and Anderson backfield.
Yeah, Cobb and Anderson. Yeah, they were frustrating. I used to play the defense. You used to play the offense, and I could manipulate because you could change the playbooks. That's another thing that was so awesome about this. I could manipulate a playbook so that I could give up 0 yards. I don't care how good a player you were, because of all. I knew what all the plays were. It was really cool. That's an easy no-brainer. If that wasn't your top pick, and I know what your second pick is going to be because I'm not going to take it. My number 1 is going to be in the similar vein that it's a game that kept stats, but you could enter your own. You can enter your buddy in. Like, Tim, you're my pitcher. I'm going to be the center fielder. You know, Dan is going to be the second baseman. Pasco's the catcher. I'm going to take Baseball Stars from SNK, like the original. The only bummer about this game is when the battery crashed and you had to start over.
And this made my list, so I just crossed it off. I mean, I can remember specifically, we were like maybe 12 or 13, and we stayed up all night at a sleepover playing Baseball Stars from like midnight until like, I want to say my parents were away. So my Aunt Teresa came down and was like, boys, it's 6 a.m. Like, go to bed.
Game 7, no, that was great stuff. And what was cool about it, you could have a seat like the league season where you could play. It's like a 3-game season with everybody, and then at the end they did the song, they had the trophy, but then you saw, it looks like Pasco won the Triple Crown, and this pitcher had all these wins, and you could go in and look at each team. That was, again, for the early 90s,
standings and everything like that. Like, yeah. And you're right. Just like with Tecmo Super Bowl, I don't think, someone who's maybe under 35 would appreciate, like the same way that we can't appreciate what Pong was for like people in the 70s.
Yeah. I think very similar to our WrestleMania, this is going to be like the kids watching. They're going to be like, dude, these games
if you
suck.
if you don't take blood pressure medication, this probably isn't the episode for you.
Probably not.
My second pick, I'm sure you knew it, but and we referenced it before. It's Punch Out. It's Mike Tyson's Punch Out.
I already have it written in. Yeah. Did we reference that?
Yeah, because we talked about like Bald Bull, Piston Honda. We did we say the Rockies were Glass Joe?
Yeah, you're right. So this game for me, it didn't make my list. Because I knew it was going to make yours. I'm like, I'm just going to give it to him. But the biggest problem I ever had with this was you couldn't pause. So if you had to go to the bathroom, it was like tough. You have to wait until in between rounds. But in between rounds is when you got to hold that
to get your health back
and get your life back.
Yeah, it really was at least a 3-minute commitment, depending on your bladder capacity. But if you were going a full 3 rounds, like if you were fighting Tyson, that's a 9 intense minutes. Like that's like, that's like defusing a bomb. That's like the Hurt Locker. Like that's like the grade school, like 6th grade.
Not for me. I mean, I never made it to the 3rd round against Tyson. Except now, you watch some of these streamers, like they'll play Tyson's Punch Out. They make this game look so easy. Like I've seen a guy play a perfect game. He doesn't take a hit, and I'm like, that's incredible to me. Like I log in right now, Glass Joe's hitting me a couple times.
Yeah, and I haven't played that game in years, but it's equally as addicting as Tecmo Super Bowl. I just give Tecmo Super Bowl the edge just because of that like replayability factor of the stats and a full season.
I'm with you. I feel bad because I'm kind of staying. I'm staying with baseball, and I'm going to take what I think is the greatest baseball game ever, and it has not been duplicated. And it's old. It's from 2005. EA Sports MVP baseball.
Okay.
The greatest baseball game ever. I think it's better than the show. Now it's better than that. It's the game. There's a game I play now on Switch called Super Mega Baseball. It is tremendous.
Now that one didn't make my list, but I do have other baseball games on my list. But I'm going to go with a classic here. I'm going back to football. I want Madden, specifically 04.
You want so that's the one
Michael
with
Vick being
that's not Falk on it. Michael Vick on it. Okay. I think you can have you could take the Madden series. Really, I mean that's. Did I put any? I don't have any Maddens down here, so I don't feel bad. You get the whole Madden series. What that series did for football games is just amazing. I think I don't know when it started getting too complicated for me, because now you have actual former NFL players who are streamers walking you through like their progressions, what they're doing, and I'm like, dude, I just want to hand the ball to Bo Jackson and watch him run. Like Madden got complex.
And I think that's the beauty of the game is that you can play it at whatever level you enjoy it. Like you can be, drafting a roster and going through career mode or franchise mode. You can, go through progressions on offense or whatever, or you could just play it more casually.
Well, you can't play casually online because some of those guys get
right.
They are hardcore, and like some of the kids that are streaming there's a guy from Canada. I got into watching his stuff during lockdown in 2020. His name is TJ Barrett. He's a really good player, but like he was like a professional wrestling heel. He was cocky, and like if you ever lost, it was like, haha, you got yours. But I still sat there and I watched him for 45 minutes and I funded him. So, but he's a really, really, really good player, and he ran the same kind of offense. So it got boring after a while. But I think that's what these guys do. They fall in love with a playbook, and then they just get really good at it because they're playing hours every day. I don't have that kind of dedication. For my number 3, this is a fun game. A simulation of beyond anything else, right? Because it's not real, and it's making my list because I still use some of the language in it. I will use the words "boom shakalaka" in the middle of class, so I'm going to take NBA Jam. And I didn't even like the game. I was never good at the game. I liked it. I thought it was fun, but I used to get killed all the time. Brian Ellis used to beat me like crazy because he had the Sega Genesis version. I'm like, dude, what's this C button do?
I just like when you would get on fire and you'd be shooting actual fireballs.
Oh. Yeah, and you couldn't miss. Like I'm shooting from half court. He's on fire. Yeah, the announcer was awesome.
Plus, I loved how just because of licensing, not every team sent out their best 2. Just because some players wouldn't. Like Shaq wasn't in the original version.
It was Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah, it was Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen.
B.J. Hodges or
B.J. Armstrong.
Armstrong and Horace Grant or something. I don't know. What I thought that was cool is you could put like a code in and you could play as like Bill Clinton or you could play as like C-3PO or they had like weird hidden characters. I thought that was neat.
So obviously very disappointing because that was going to be my very next pick.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Nice. I gave you all Madden, so I don't feel bad.
But I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to go with NHL Live 93. Another game that was very addicting. And then obviously from the movie Swingers.
Is that the one you can make Gretzky's head bleed?
Oh, yeah. The one where Jeremy Roenick is just unstoppable.
There was a lot of them. And I think I played that. Was that available for PlayStation?
Yeah, it had been first just for Super Nintendo, and then EA Sports made a.
Maybe I had it for Super Nintendo because I remember playing in college, but I used to cheat. I used to make my own roster, and I'd have Mark Messier, Jeremy Roenick, Mario Lemieux. I'd have all the 99s, and like that was the only way I could win because I was really bad at those games. Yeah,
just like easily the best hockey game. But then just again another one that was just it felt very lifelike and it just incredibly fun and addicting.
Okay. So I have a list and I know what I'm gonna say for 5 because I don't even think you know about it, so that's fine. Oh, dude, yeah, we're gonna go with this because I think you got a football game. I'm gonna take a football game I think is actually better than Madden, and it's a bummer for me that EA got the monopoly they did. I'm not gonna. It's not the basketball version. It's the football version. ESPN.
ESPN 2K, football.
The one with Terrell Owens on the cover.
Yeah.
I don't know where that game is. I looked for it. Oh no. Oh, I'm in trouble. Dude, it was really good.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
And it
with
good
Mike
music.
Patrick.
I think Berman was in it.
Yeah.
It just played really well.
And I think I told you maybe 2 months ago there was an Amazon documentary about Madden football. And there's like one whole episode about how ESPN was the first real threat to Madden video game supremacy.
And it should have been. It was just so good. When Madden started getting super complicated, and to me, this is the problem with the show. The show is a complicated game. I'm an old man. Let me play baseball. NFL 2K was more straightforward, I think, in the play calling, in the playbook. It worked better for me. So I'm going to take NFL 2K by ESPN.
Okay,
I brought props.
This is my fifth pick, right?
Yeah, this is the last one. Oh, this is a tough draft, man. This is tough.
So I need a baseball game on there. And the game that as much as I love the show, I'm going with Ken Griffey Baseball for Nintendo 64.
That's a good pick.
I was addicted to that in college. That and GoldenEye.
I was so bad at GoldenEye.
Oh, me and Norm, we used to just love it go in sniper mode.
Dude, Jason Macco would give me the golden gun, and he would set his difficulty to like the max. Like he'd have to hit me 20,000 times. He'd still beat me like 7-2. I was so bad. But Ken Griffey Jr. Baseball though, I don't know. I played it a couple times. Was that around like 93, 94 that came out?
Well, there was a Super Nintendo version.
That's the one I'm thinking of.
93 or 94. But then I'm talking about the one for Nintendo 64, where you could then pick from 4 different pitches and then pick the location of where you wanted the pitch to go.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm not familiar with that game, but okay, I thought you were going to go RBI baseball, and I was going to like freak out on you. Like, dude, really?
I was thinking about. Do you remember Little League baseball, where like?
Yeah. I didn't make my list. There's a guy on TikTok that'll just sit there and watch, plays Little League baseball. That's one of the best games. But you know what? It's got the same kind of controller structure and field structure as Baseball Stars.
Yeah.
So you really had to buy into the whole ping with the aluminum. And then when the guy hit the home run, there was the bald guy going, arr, arr, arr.
Right.
Man, my number 5, dude. I'm gonna force the game I was gonna pick. I'm not gonna pick just because this right here, it may be fundamentally the best football game outside of Tecmo Super Bowl. Just because of the recruit, like you could build your own team. Like I did this with my wedding party. There was I had a lot of groomsmen. I was that guy. 10 groomsmen and me. I made us as a football team in this game, and I jacked this all up, right? But then you go to recruiting mode. That was, and actually, I'm not even sure this was the best one. The best one might have been with Joey Harrington or whatever, whoever the USC. Matt Leinart. How was it? Matt Leinart? I thought there was a different USC quarter. Carson Palmer was on one. Yeah, dude, EA Sports just did it, man. Like they're tremendous. So also, I had a hard time.
Really quick fun fact: Carson Palmer is the oldest quarterback to be taken number 1 overall in the NFL draft. He was 24.
Wow, no kidding. And he covered Boyd a video game. So
yeah.
What games didn't make the cut for you? Got to be a couple. I have a bunch.
So other ones on my list, obviously NBA Jam, Tecmo Bowl, just regular original Tecmo Bowl, Excite Bike. Blades of Steel and Double Dribble, if you remember those.
I was wondering so you said NHL was the best hockey game. My brother-in-law would have probably picked Blades of Steel.
Blades of Steel was fun, and so was just the old original ice hockey where you could pick a really skinny fast guy.
Oh, dude.
A middle-sized guy.
Fatty.
And then they would fight, and then there'd be like blood drops. Yeah. That game was good, though. Yeah. And you could pick from Russia, Sweden, Canada, or U.S.
Considering the age of it, yeah, it wasn't. Do you have any others?
Those are the big ones on my list.
Okay. So for me...
Oh, and MLB The Show.
Okay. For me, so EA, when they lost their baseball license, what they did was they went to college. And you could. This was really where I started to learn about college baseball, because you had regionals before the big tournament. So, but again, this was MVP baseball. The next season was '06, but it was college, and they had built their system a little better. Aside from the human paraquat that's on this, so we'll get the light on there. High heat baseball was a really, really good simulation. And you know what? And the back of it says, proceeds benefit, Kurt's ALS donation. So I mean, there's that. That's good for him, I guess. The other stuff that I don't have access to easily, pro wrestling.
Superstars
Starman and Fighter Hayabusa and King Slender, the Ric Flair wannabe.
Yeah.
That had infinite replayability for me, because I could never I never got to the end guy, so it was just the consistent challenge there. There was remember Tecmo Super Bowl? They made a basketball game, Tecmo NBA basketball.
Yeah, you had that. I do remember.
Same
that.
concept. And I think that was around
that was
like
a good
'92. So like the Bulls and
Yeah.
Knicks and Pistons and Celtics. Like Bird was in it, Magic was in it. I picked Super Dodgeball. Super Dodgeball. I don't know if it counts
I
as
never got
sports,
into
but I was really good at it. So
I did have California Games, if you remember that, where you could like roller skate.
that was a game. That was a game I was bad at.
Hacky sack.
Yeah, there was like a what do you call it? Oh my gosh, I can't think of like hopscotch. There was like a hopscotch thing. It was weird. There was a Super Nintendo game called Super Tennis. I like Super Tennis. That was a good
I remember
game.
that.
And then the game I was gonna pick that I knew it was a PC game called Ultimate Football. Ultimate Football, you didn't really play. You drew up the play and you hit the button, and then the system kind of ran it for you, where it was like you really felt like you were coaching.
I remember that.
Our freshman year, I recreate. You could customize things. I recreated the entire NFL, where in the NFC Central, because it was like 3 divisions then. It was like the Hazleton area team, and then the Berwick team, and Coughlin, and Tunkhannock, and maybe Pittston. I don't know. But I went in and I changed all the Bears to all Hazleton people. And then for like East Stroudsburg, I put James Mungro in there. And for Coughlin, I put Baldo Vincerelli, or the names, that I would remember. And then every week when the Bears were playing, I would play a game of Ultimate Football. On Friday and Saturday, I would do like scouting. And that was kind of like the one thing that almost kept me sane that first year, away from home and away from like normalcy.
Right.
That was as far as sports games go, that was a lost gem. I don't think a lot of people. I Google it now and I can't even find it. It's like it doesn't exist. And I almost wonder, like, did I fall into a timeline where it didn't exist, but I just still remember it?
Yeah.
Huh. So those were our picks. That's a good theme. That, I mean, we got some heavy hitters in there.
I like my picks, except I wish I had NBA Jam, but I'm happy with my 5.
I'll trade you for Tecmo Super Bowl.
Go to hell.
That's top 5 this week, and it's timely. It's timely because what was it? Friday, I think. Friday was Al Pacino's 85th trip around the sun. 85 years old, our buddy Al. So you thought we could draft, or not draft? We were going to list our top 5 Al Pacino movies, and I took a different viewpoint on this. I took them as the Al Pacino movies that I am entertained by the most, not the best Al Pacino movies. Okay. I'm going to put that right out there. And there's 2 of them that I think are going to make your list that I didn't see because I'm a terrible person. But I'll start off with my number 5, and I ranked them. So my number 5 it's cheesy Al Pacino mobster type guy, but in a comic fashion. I'm going to take Al Pacino as Big Boy in Dick Tracy.
Okay, so just so you don't think I'm lying, I'll show you the list. Dick Tracy is also my number 5.
Hey, how about that? That's a fun movie.
I loved that movie. So I was in 5th grade, like it was the summer of 5th grade when it came out.
Yeah.
They brought back all the old Chester Gould cartoons because I remember I used to watch them in the mornings that summer.
I was going to ask you because it was Saturday morning at like 7 o'clock, though. And like, so you had to wake.
Yeah.
I would wake up and watch the cartoon from what was like the 50s or 60s.
Yeah. Well,
That's amazing.
yeah, I think it was from the 50s because the character was created in the 40s.
Yeah, well, the comic.
And then I remember they had trading cards. I was obsessed with the trading cards. Yeah, I was big into that movie, and I love Al Pacino. Oh yeah, I was obsessed with Dick Tracy and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cards.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Pacino, just so much fun in that movie. And he was nominated for an Oscar, by the way.
Was he really? He deserves it.
Yeah, he's
Who'd they give it
for
to
Best Supporting Actor. Jack Palance.
Stockton Zone, or not Pardeesville. Where's he from?
Yeah, I thought he was from Pardeesville.
No, it's up the road where Dan's grandmother used to live. She wasn't in Pardeesville.
Oh, Latimer?
Latimer Zone, Jack Palance, yeah. It was a pair of 5s. I'm pretty sure my 4 is not your 4, though. I'd be very shocked.
Okay.
I saw this movie, and my immediate thought was, this would make an incredible board game. Because this character's job was to do something to this character, but this character's job over here was to stop this character. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's phenomenal. Al Pacino was a CIA recruiter in the movie The Recruit.
Oh, with Colin, is that Colin Farrell?
Yeah. I didn't write that part down, but that sounds about right.
Now, I don't believe I've seen that one, but I've heard it's pretty good.
It's my kind of movie. Like we were talking, my wife rented Conclave because of the whole Pope thing, and I watched Conclave, and I'm like, yeah, I can understand what this is. An Academy movie. It's a little slow. I dozed off for like a half a second. The Recruit is not an Academy movie. It's more like a Jammer movie.
It's a popcorn movie. Yeah, like I've seen the commercial. Yeah. So my number 4 is probably somewhere on your list. I'd also just like to preface this by saying that I love the movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but Pacino's barely in it. So it did not make my list. I do not consider that now. Pacino. He has like 12 lines. So that's the only reason why that's not on my list. But number 4 on my list is a movie we both love. I believe we saw it together when it came out. Donnie Brasco.
Donnie Brasco is, in fact, on my list. It's number 1 for me.
Oh wow! Okay.
It's how I'm entertained by a movie, and just the historical perspective of what the mafia was like, and it made me read more. Imagine that, a movie made me read a book. I read, it was like a fan fiction book about the Russian mob, then how Donnie Brasco or Joe Pistone would have tried to infiltrate that mob. And that really, it made me realize one of the reasons why I don't like reading fiction books too much. It's my inner monologue when I'm reading. I couldn't pronounce the Russian mobster's name, so I just started calling him Vlad in my head. If I saw that thing, okay, Vlad's doing this, Vlad's doing that. But like in the movie, I don't need to pronounce anything. Like,
right.
I know how Pistone sounds like that. Ruggiero sounds like that. Okay. But then when I read about the actual, I would watch videos about that time frame. They really Hollywooded Joe Pistone's family life a lot. Like that was different. And at the end, you're led to believe that Al Pacino's character, Lefty Ruggiero, is killed. He's not. He died of throat cancer later on. So, I mean, it's the 80 packs of cigarettes that he smoked in Johnny Depp's car. That's a great pick. I don't know did we see that together?
Yeah, and it's the great sort of like throughway from young Pacino to like more melancholy older Pacino, because like you say, like there is this throughout the movie, like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop for Lefty, and then at the end, they kind of tell you that like, well, what we thought was going to happen is happening now.
So that's your 3, and that's my 1. So what's your 2?
That was my 4.
What was your 4? Oh my goodness. Then what's your 3?
Yeah, Dick Tracy was my 5. Brasco was my 4. So my 3, I doubt this was on your list, but I love Glengarry Glen Ross, which is on Broadway right now with Kieran Culkin in the Pacino role. But it's just such a great movie, and it's on Amazon Prime if you ever. After I watch Wicked, you watch Glengarry Glen Ross.
Glengarry Glen Ross, yeah, didn't even make my. I bet you Tim's going to pick this list. Yeah, no, it's on the Hulu. You said.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Amazon. Well, we have that. So, that fell. That's whatever. That's my number 3. I know is not going to be on your list because this is cheesy cheese Al Pacino. I still think he's one of the ultimate devils. The devil's advocate for me is entertaining, and he is a tremendous Satanist or whatever you want to call him. And the morph at the end with Painted Black by the Rolling Stones is cool to me. So devil's advocate Al Pacino is okay. He's number 3 for me.
It didn't make my list, but I love that movie. It's just like a lot of it is just really sort of like hammy, cheesy, fun. But the movie knows that it's cheesy, and then that doesn't like the movie, even though those parts are cheesy, is still able to be legitimately scary. It's just really well done, and it, at least in my world, it introduced me to Charlize Theron. That was the first time I ever saw her in a movie.
About that. Mine too, probably. I don't know what else I would have seen. We can't do a top 5 Charlize Theron movies. I don't think I've seen 5 of them.
My number 2 is Dog Day Afternoon.
That was one of them I thought was going to make your list. I haven't seen it because I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, it's just almost in real time where him and John Cazale play these guys who are robbing a Brooklyn bank and then end up in a hostage situation. So the whole movie is just them in this bank on a hot July day with their hostages. And, they're just 2 guys from the neighborhood. They don't know. They're scared. They don't know what they're doing, and it's just a great performance and a great movie.
So my number 2, the last one I can talk about, when we talked about this on the phone, you had sent over a picture of Al Pacino saying the words "okay," and I said I hear that in this movie when he is talking to Danny Ocean about Danny Ocean's sharks need villas. They need villas, and Pacino looks at him and says, "Okay." I'm going to take Ocean's 13 with Al Pacino as Willie Bank. Willie Bank is like the ultimate. I want him to get his comeuppance, and Al Pacino plays it so well, like the megalomaniac running a casino, and then the behind the scenes kind of like this is how the heist is going to work. So I don't think Pacino's not the main guy in it. That's probably still George Clooney and Brad Pitt. But he plays a really good bad guy. And then at the end, when he gets his comeuppance and he's like, my diamonds. You're like, good for you. If you shook Frank Sinatra's hand, you got to know better.
Yeah. And the Ocean's movies in general are a lot of fun. But he does make for a good, like...
I think 13 is my favorite of all. I've seen the 4 of them. And Jen will always bust my chops. She's like, oh my gosh, you're watching your favorite movie again. Like, it's on TNT. I can't turn it off. Sorry. It's like the Shawshank Redemption. It's on somewhere.
Next time, just turn around and go, why do you hate life?
Okay.
Take marriage tips from me. My number 1 should come as no shock because it's one of my 5 favorite movies ever, but The Godfather.
And again, this is where I said that's probably the best movie he's done. I actually wrote the Godfather trilogy as one of the honorable mentions. it's to me, it's they're great movies. They're long, and like you need to be. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch this. Whereas like Ocean's 13, it's like a 90-minute nothing. Like, oh yeah, we'll watch this and then we'll go to the bar. The Godfather, you got to be like, you got to lock in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like fighting Tyson. It's a 9-minute commitment. No bathroom breaks.
No, none at all. But I mean, there's no. If you're drafting the best and like you need like the best movie, yeah, that's undoubtedly.
Yeah.
I had 4 others. I made a list of all the Pacino movies that I had seen because that's what I have to do. And aside from the 6 there that we mentioned, in order, I think of how I would list them. I put Scent of a Woman, Godfather Trilogy 1, Scent of a Woman would have been 2, Scarface 3, The Irishman 4, and then I saw it. I wasn't really impressed by Any Given Sunday, but that was a movie thing more than a Pacino thing.
I'm not a big Scarface guy.
Another long one that you have to sit in, but I like the explosion, the big ass gun at the end because that's.
Now I had Sea of Love was a really good movie, and then also Heat with him and De Niro.
I haven't seen Heat, and that's another one of them. Like I bet he's seen this. How about Serpico for you? Did that make the almost?
It's a really good movie, but yeah, if it's in my top 10, it's 9 or 10.
9 or 10. Okay, I was one of the other ones. I figured, man, I bet you he's seen this, and I haven't, and it's gonna be like, man, how did you not see this? But I don't feel as bad now, which is good. So let's. What do we got next? Oh, Mr. Smarty Pants, I think. You got good stuff for Mr. Smarty Pants, man. Like legitimately good stuff. You're gonna like this.
All right.
I have 3 trivia questions and a part of trivia that I think is kind of neat. Question number 1 for you. Okay. This year, the Michigan Wolverines had 3 players selected in the first round of the NFL draft. Which school holds the record for the most first-round picks in a single NFL draft?
The U. Is it Miami?
Miami? Miami's one of them. They got tied, though. 17 years later.
LSU.
Good guess. No. It's the other one.
Alabama?
Alabama, yeah, in 2021. But the Miami 2004 draft, they put 6 out there. Alabama put 6 out in 2021. So that was the NFL draft trivia. And then since, we talked about Al Pacino, I figured I'd do some Al Pacino trivia for you. This is how many times has Al Pacino been married?
6.
Not 6.
Low or high?
You're high.
4.
Nope.
2?
According to IMDb, he has been married 0 times.
Eternal Bachelor.
Who knew?
Huh.
All right, here's the rubber question for you. The voice of which Simpsons character was based on an Al Pacino character?
Oh, Mo.
Yeah, Mo the bartender.
Yeah.
Based on Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon. There you go. So, yay, 2 out of 3, Mr. Smarty Pants. As I was researching those questions for you, I discovered, according to IMDb, Al Pacino turned down the role of Han Solo in Star Wars, which obviously went to Harrison Ford. Can you imagine Al Pacino as Harrison Ford, or as Han Solo?
I'm just trying to picture him acting opposite Chewbacca. You said it, Chewie.
That's just so goofy to me. So
wait, I have a trivia question for you.
Ooh, I can't wait.
So obviously Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick out of the University of Miami.
Yeah.
Only one quarterback who is is an alum of University of Miami has had a 4,000-yard passing season in the NFL. And he's only done it once.
Oh, who is it?
Yeah, who do you think it is?
My first thought would almost have to be Jim Kelly, but I'm assuming it's not Jim Kelly.
Jim Kelly never went. He hit 3,800 once.
Vinny Testaverde?
Vinny Testaverde in 1996 for the Baltimore Ravens.
For the Ravens of all teams.
Yeah, before the Jets have never had a 4,000-yard passer.
Wow. Well, there you go. Hey, you're gonna like this. I don't know. Maybe you're not. I don't really care. As I was going through my game case to try to find games for our thing, I happened upon this.
I have my copy.
So I watched it, and I want to see your list. There, I want to see how many. Can you name the actors who were in the movie and their character name? There's 12 actors, so 12 actors and 12 character names.
Okay. I won't remember. I remember you were D'Amico.
I'll give you that. I was Detective John D'Amico.
I don't even remember my character's name, but I was in it.
I'll give you. You don't know your name?
I don't remember my character's name.
Oh, you were Detective Frank Foster.
I look like a Frank.
Frank Drebin, Police Squad.
Pasco is in it as a forensic scientist.
Pasco was, yeah, I'll give you that. And his name, I wouldn't guess his name. He was Dr. Ronald Hudson.
Alex was in it as another cop, Alex Leonards.
Alex Leonards was Detective Jimmy Winters.
Sure.
He told the Ivan Putski story.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we got the Polish Hammer and Lockup. And you got to go back and watch yours because you do the thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you. We learned all about shot continuity there because the one shot was us. Like we did the story 3 times, and they had the music playing for one of them, and then music would cut off.
Yeah,
but we learned.
Matwicha was in it, and Mrs. Rigotti
Jeff
was
Matwicha,
in it.
yes, Jeff Matwicha. You're never gonna get the name. He was David Martin.
Oh, sure. I did. We because he was one of the victims. We would have had to have referred to him by name. My brother was in it. Matt was in it.
Matt Hare. Do you remember Matt's name? This is a great name.
I don't.
Clyde Hinkle.
That is a great name.
Clyde Hinkle. Yes. Oh, and you go back and watch it. He looks so menacing. He looks like Clyde Hinkle, sitting in my grandfather's couch with his
camo pants, and,
white tank top on. Yeah, that spectacular stuff.
Mr. Rigotti was in it.
Which one? Say that again.
Mr. Rigotti was in it.
Big Jim was in it. You remember who he was?
I remember he was a suspect.
He was credited. His name is in the credits as Mr. Long.
Okay.
So just Mr. Long.
How many have I gotten so far of the actors?
You 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You're missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're missing 5.
Brian Ellis was in it. He was like our
Brian Ellis. You're never gonna get the Lieutenant Walter Edmonds. The biggest problem with Brian Ellis, he had his hair cut.
Yeah, he had to wear a fedora.
We filmed one scene, and they were like, he's like, dude, yeah, I'm bald now. I'm like, what are we gonna do? This looks stupid. And he put a hat on, so it worked. Yeah, so
I don't know if I remember who else was in it.
You're missing 4. So you want me to give them to you?
Yeah.
2 of them were Jeff Matwicha's parents. So Mr. and Mrs. Martin.
Was that your parents?
We got Bob and Miriam Gemelli to do that. So Bob and Miriam did. Bob was Robert Martin, and my mother was just Mrs. Martin. We didn't give her a name. We needed a waiter at Dabato's.
Vendura.
So Eric Vendura was he's just credited as waiter. And then we needed a female victim. And we asked around, man.
Leanne.
We asked Melissa Cox to do it. She was down, but then something happened. So we had Dan's mom was like almost cast, but then Leanne Juracek was the final Jennifer Long and once you watch through the whole show, I looking back at it, I did the director's cut on it. It felt more like a CSI movie than a movie because it was about 20 minutes long. You could totally CSI this.
Yeah, it felt like a Law and Order episode.
And it's got the Law and Order sound, the ding ding in it.
Yeah.
So we went through the credits, and I wrote down who was who. But at the end of it, then we had the director's thank yous. So as a bonus, do you remember who we thanked in the credits?
DeBatos?
I thanked Neil for letting us shoot there at the restaurant. Yeah.
Did we thank Mr. Canella?
No, it was a Canella film. It was like Canella Productions. We gave him enough dap.
He's getting that sweet production money.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know.
I thanked my parents for being in the movies and my mother for crying. And I thanked my dog because, quote, I love my dog. Had nothing to do with the movie. I just wanted to thank McHugh.
Sure.
You thanked Brian Ellis, Alex, Matt, and here's a name from the past, Jeff Yakubowski, for their camera work.
That's right.
I thought that's something else. And then you thanked Matt for helping write the story, which if you out in interweb land have never seen what's The High Price of Knowing. I mean, I don't know if you're going to find a copy of this outside of my house or Tim's house. There you got some stills from the back. There's Alex telling the Ivan Putski story.
Yeah.
Us out in the woods. There's Ellis
Look
with
at those
hair.
production values.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it's printing off of VHS still, so this is good stuff, man.
I wish I still had a copy I wish I still had a copy of my Hooked on a Feeling music video.
I didn't have a copy of that. I think I gave you a DVD of the Granada tapes.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I have one of those. And then I had the Mafia movie that I made. Basically the long music video I made with Bret Hart for his final project. And there was one other thing on that. I think it's on a VHS tape somewhere. It might be your Hooked on a Feeling thing. I got to look. But that's
I had a copy of Hooked on a Feeling like at my parents' house. But I don't know where that ended up.
It's a lot of that cool stuff is lost to history, unfortunately.
In a landfill somewhere.
So, along with the E.T. Atari game. So, all right, I'm going to wrap this up for you. Rank roulette, A, B, C, D, E. Maybe you'll figure out what these guys have in common. Maybe you won't. It'll be fun.
Okay. I'll move it along because I have to go to the bathroom so badly. E.
E. E is John Harris.
3?
You put him at 3, okay.
A.
A is Lester Holmes.
2.
All righty. You got B, C, D.
I'll go D.
D is Jermaine Mayberry.
4.
4. All right, you got 1 and 5, so you have either B or C.
B.
B is Bernard Williams.
5.
Which, I mean, letter C is Mike Mamula.
Okay, yeah, I'll put him 1.
Put Mike Mamula at number 1. So, do you have any idea what these guys have in common?
I mean, draft prospects, Boston College.
From 1993 to 1997, these were the first-round draft picks of your Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, Jermaine. Okay.
In order. So A, B, C, D, E was 93, 94, 95, 96, 97.
I should have guessed that. I'm distracted by my all this water I've been recycling.
When you got to go, that's what John was. When you had cut out, John was like, "Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to go here." I'm with you. What's kind of funny is if you look, you drafted 3 offensive linemen and 2 defensive ends. You went guard, tackle, DN, guard, DN.
And Mamula, from that time, like everyone thought that was the steal because he had a combine like a bulldozer.
Combine warrior, and then Bust City.
Had a decent career. He hung around for a while. I was champion Mike Mamula. I would not call him a bust.
Bust didn't live up to the hype.
Fair.
There you go. Whew. All right, man. I had a good time today. We learned a little, we laughed a little, we cried a little.
We've grown.
I don't think we could have done any better. This might have been our best show ever. Like legit, we've had good shows. We say that every week and like we joke, but like this is a good one, man.
I enjoyed the WrestleMania cards.
So, but remember for Survivor Series, we'll try to roll that out, or we'll put a WrestleMania together using professional athletes that are not wrestlers.
Oh, I like that.
Like that idea. Maybe we'll do that next week. Now that we know what we're doing, a little booking knowledge. Yeah, we'll see. But I'll let you get going because we're at 2:45. This might be a record for us, but good show. We'll see you on down the road, and everybody out there in interweb land. We'll see.